Hey, Cleveland, this is Tristan Thompson of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you're listening to Sports Fix.
Sports Fix listeners, do you tweet? So do we. So tweet with us 24/7 at the Sports Fix CLE.
Business owners and professionals, do you want to take your business, your product, your team, your event to the next level? You want to advertise right here with the Sports Fix. Our listeners are among the most loyal listeners, terrestrial or internet. The Sports Fix universe is not only the radio show, but tens of thousands of fans on Facebook and Twitter. Email me, Jerry Myers, thesportsfix at AOL.com. That's thesportsfix at AOL.com. And let me help you swing for the fences and hit it out of the park right here on the Sports Fix.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Harry Buffalo. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
Live in Ohio, it's time to get your fix. The Sports Fix.
And away we go, baby. Hump Day edition of Sports Fix. You know I'm feeling good. You can hear it right off the bat. I hope you are. I know you are too, even if it is Wednesday. So what? By the time we get done, hey, today's actually a pretty cool Wednesday. If you're listening live, that is. I mean, if you're on digital delay, then your day's gone a little bit differently. But right after we get done, the Indians will be doing their thing, a little matinee baseball, and it's Corey Kluber taking the mound in the Tribe with a chance to take the series, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But that's what you do when you're digging out of a hole. You take one series at a time here, and the Indians, with a win last night, set themselves up to do that. So today sets itself up to be kind of nice. Plus, you know, we've got that whole basketball thing to talk about from last night. We've got Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan and from EverybodyHatesCleveland.com. Dan just writes for everybody, and he's here every Monday and Wednesday on the Sports Fix with us today. Going to be a lot of fun, as we've got a lot of things to talk about with him, not just the Tribe, not just the Cavs. Hey, I joke, we all do, about the Browns stuff and, you know, talking about silliness and that, but, you know, I actually do have a little something to talk about as the NFL schedule's out, and those are real things. That's not speculation about uniforms and talking about players that aren't even on the team, but at least there's something real there. Real games, real teams. We know who's playing what, where it's starting off with the Jets. Got some Monday night football action going on, first time in quite a while. So, hey, we'll talk about that with Dan Wismar here. We'll talk about all kinds of things, the news of the day. Let's get rocking and rolling and doing the Sports Fix thing. Is that all right with you? I mean, of course, if it is, then let's do it. Welcome in to the Sports Fix, you guys, one and all, big and small, short and tall. I am your host, the Big Daddy on the microphone, having a ball, and hopefully you are too. Man, I wasn't even going for the rhyme that time. Hopefully you are too, because that's kind of what we do here on the Sports Fix each and every weekday at noon, live across the Sports Fix radio network. Maybe you're listening live on TuneIn. TuneIn's radio apps, they're worldwide, on Spreaker and Mixler, their websites, their digital apps, their mobile applications. Maybe you're enjoying the show right now directly on our home base, thesportsfix.net, and hopefully working over the next few weeks on the sportsfix.net, trying to make it a bit more mobile friendly, working on some different things that we can do there to try to make the website a little more friendly to all different devices, try to tweak some of the things on there. So hopefully that'll help encourage or help make things even smoother. I shouldn't say encourage, but help make things even smoother there. It's one of the things that our webmaster and I are working on. Make sure you bookmark it if you haven't, by the way. It's a great backup place for all the sites, because every day live at noon, the voice comes out of there. It's my voice, and the show plays. You don't even have to click play. TheSportsFix.net. Welcome in as well, all of you guys listening, as we say each and every day, thousands of you around the world, enjoying the show on your time schedule, not ours. You're like, hey, listen, I listen. Maybe you're halfway across the world. There's so many different people listening on iHeartRadio, the world's largest internet radio provider, on iTunes and Stitcher Radio and SoundCloud and CarPlay and all the different places that are too numerous to mention, the various sites that you guys enjoy the show. Thank you so much for doing it, for being here every day, whether it's live, whether it's 24/7 on delay. You guys are the Sports Fix universe. And I love it, and I love you guys, and you know what's next. You guys are the thing, so do the thing. Whether it's on the phones, whether it's on the social media, the email, fire it up and be the voice of the Sports Fix. 216-539-7535. Phones are open. 216-539-7535. If you can't get to the phone or you're listening to the show on your phone like so many of you do, Facebook, Twitter, as I said, facebook.com/The Sports Fix. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix CLE. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com, facebook.com/The Sports Fix, or of course, just search for The Sports Fix on Facebook. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix CLE. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. And I guess, man, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, pick a way to go. Where do you start? Because there's so many places. You know what? I'm actually going to start with the Indians here because I kind of want to say, and you know, tomorrow's going to be a mixed bag when Mike Brandenberry joins us because I'm telling you guys, he's in a mood. He's in a mood already. Been there. Indians are driving him there this early in the season, and he had some interesting questions for me this morning about the tone and tenor of our conversation tomorrow. But I gotta back that up. Look, man, there's a lot of things that I worry about with this Indians team over the big picture, the long haul. We'll have to watch and see how these things play out, but you know, I get it. They flamed out. I go back to talking about that first game against the White Sox before we even talk about yesterday, and I understand how unhappeningable is the word that I'll make up a word there. That just is unallowable there. But anyways, you take that out and you combine the other 8 innings of that game with what the Indians laid down last night, and hey, that's back-to-back games, some good baseball. You're beginning to see, hey, that's how you dig out of a hole. Like today, you win the series. Plain and simple. You take 2 out of 3, you move on to the next. I mean, that's how you dig out of a hole little by little. But you know, some good baseball, by the way, played yesterday. I know it was overshadowed by the Cavaliers game, and of course, I mean, rightfully so. It's a very early season baseball game against the playoffs, and I get that. But the Indians went out there. Carlos Carrasco, very interested, too, as we talked about, how he was going to get out there. And, well, he got out there just fine. 8 strikeouts. You know, they got to him early as, you know what, though? Hey, when you're giving up home runs to Abreu, it's not exactly unheard of there. And the early solo home run didn't even faze the Indians, as, guess what? They know how to hit a solo home run or two along the way. That's been their weapon of choice all season long. I think they're up to 11 now, I believe, solo home runs here. Carlos Santana jacked one. Murphy had one, almost had 2 yesterday. And then Ryan Rayburn, he dropped in a couple of RBIs later. He's been heating it up a little bit, which is a good thing to see there. You got to see some different places contributing. We talked about that whole grouping of guys that had started poorly, and that wasn't even including him. That was everybody else for the most part. So, you know, that cushions the lead there, and the Indians were able to do what they had to do with the bullpen. The bullpen that's been maligned early on, probably because of games like this where you end up using 7 pitchers, but you can't fault. Hey, look, Carlos Carrasco has had a wonky, not just a week. I mean, look at, you know what, when I was reading the game recap in the Plain Dealer, they even went back further than I'll go with this, and look at that man's offseason, his spring training, and then the first couple of starts of the season, on top of having the big contract come in. I mean, with the heart condition, the issues there, and then it raised its head again during spring training, and then you get hit. Man, you got to start to wonder. Talk about things getting in your head. If you're snake bit, you know, if you're him, it takes a strong mental disposition to keep yourself focused, and he did. He got back out there, shook off, as I said, that early home run. Bullpen helped him out there. Cody Allen wasn't a save situation, but I think it was still good to get him back out there, back on the horse right away. Keep that thing going. I don't know, some people may disagree or whatever, but Indians went out there, laid it down, did what they had to do last night, and they picked up a victory here. And now, as I said, a chance following up our show here. They'll get Corey Kluber out on the mound today. Chance to win the game, chance to win the series. And that's what you do here, digging things out of the hole early on. But, you know, again, so many people, distracted. And Mike Brandenberry and I, speaking of the conversation we've been having off the air, one thing that I told him, we were texting last night, and I mean, it's clear as day with this one, but the Indians, they're saving grace for the first, or for the next, really, hopefully, 6 to 8 weeks or so on, you know, assuming that the Cavaliers thing goes as far as we think it's going to. That's a good window, a good shade for the struggles for the early season of the Indians. We talk about that a lot for all the different teams, how, when the Browns are having a bad start to the season and the Indians are in a pennant race down the stretch or they're fighting for a playoff spot, it kind of takes the distraction away. And then people go, well, once the Indian season's over, if they fall short, then all of a sudden everybody will be focused. You know what I mean? Same thing here, same situation here. That playoff run is going to kind of distract a lot of people from what's going on with the Indians. They'll check in here and there, and I'm referring to the casual fan. I mean, obviously, if you're an Indians fan, I don't mean you, but the casual fan, they'll check in here and there, they'll catch a game here and there, but their focus for now is mainly on the Cavaliers, and that's a good thing for the Indians, because a bad start like this cannot just it can hurt the Indians at the gate, and that's realistic. Talk all you want about already having attendance problems. When you back it up with that can hurt you, but the focus off a little bit here. It gives the Indians a little shade with the fan base and the media that's always looking for something to talk about. They can at least focus that energy on the Cavaliers. It buys some time. Now, if the Indians have not begun to right the ship and straighten themselves out by the time that emerges, they think you think you got a spotlight and you got some focus on you early, then the focus will really come down on the Indians at that point. But they've got some time here, and really, it's so early. I saw, speaking of the write-ups, and this is where I get into these ridiculous stats so early in the season. The Plain Dealer in their write-up mentioned, it was just a little line. It said the Tribe before last night had only won 3 of their previous 10 games. They've only played 13 games. So isn't that just one of the most asinine sounding stats ever? To see that and spot that in the paper like that. Come on, man. I mean, they've played 13 games, but you're giving me the 10-game breakdown. I mean, plain and simple. It's been a rough 13, 14 game start to the season, whatever, man, 15, whatever it is at this point here. You know what I'm saying? 13. I knew I was right. And they're talking about the last 10 games. I knew I was right. I had to double check and make sure that I wasn't shortchanging myself. So those are, guys, come on, man. But anyways, the Indians did what they had to do yesterday. Offensive, hey, man, they broke the bank offensively, doubled their season average. They've been averaging 3.5, or not even 3.5 runs a game, 3.2 or something. They broke out for 6 last night. Did see an error rear its head, but didn't cause any problems for the Indians here. And once again, now look at this series, and it's the White Sox. They're the same 5-8 record that the Indians have right here, but take out the 9th inning. And I know, again, you go, well, they blew the 9th inning. Okay, take out the 9th inning and look at the other 17 innings of this series so far, the first 2 games with the White Sox. All thumbs up if you're an Indians fan. And again, it's the White Sox. I'll give you that. But still, so there's good. There's good to the bad here. I know, I'm telling you guys, Mike Brandenberry is in a mood, my friends, man. And I get some of it. I do. But tomorrow should be an interesting conversation. But me, I'm all right here. I'd love to see tomorrow. I'd love to be coming into that conversation talking about at least putting this series to bed here as they continue to move through the division. Corey Kluber, as we mentioned, going out there today looking to help the Indians win this series here. Get out there, and it's Tamarja on the opposite hill here, 2:10. So actually, right around the time we get off, and then you know where they're going from here. That's the other reason why you got to take this one today. You got your guy out on the mound, Corey Kluber. Let's get Kluber his first victory of the season. When you see what he's done, I mean, and look at all the starters as we've talked about, or at least the main grouping, of course, House out of that one. But look at what Kluber's done. He's got to get a win here. You got to get him something. He's 0-1, 2.4 ERA. That's even a mirage compared to what we've seen from Corey Kluber here. Remember the last game, until that inning undid him, he had the perfect game going through 5. But you want to get the win here. That's the games you win when Corey Kluber's out on the mound. Get this one because you're going into the mouth of the dragon coming up here after an off day tomorrow. There will be no distraction from the Cavs. The Cavs play tomorrow on Thursday, and the Indians are off. They don't get into Detroit until Friday, and there will be no Cavs game on Friday or Saturday. Focus will be on you guys, and here come the Indians heading into Detroit. And looking at the pitching matchups here for this weekend, you've got Salazar on Friday and Shane Green. Look at the start for everybody on Detroit, but look at the start for Shane Green, 3-0, 0.39 ERA to start the season. Then Bauer, no slouch himself. How about this one for Saturday? I know I'm getting ahead of us a little bit from today's game, but man, Bauer, Saturday afternoon game, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Alfredo Simon, he's 3-0 with a 1.74 ERA. So, I mean, wow, that is a great Saturday afternoon matchup. Salazar and Shane Green's not too shabby on Friday. And, hey, you know what? Carlos Carrasco, the man we saw last night, he'll be back on the hill for the Indians, wrapping that series up on Sunday. So here you go. You're going back into the mouth of the dragon, as I said. They came to Cleveland and ate you alive, really started this bad run that stumbled you around a little bit here. So now we'll see what happens when they go. But you definitely don't want to stumble back and lose this series here with Chicago. When you've got Corey, it's bad enough Kluber's not going to be thrown out there against the Tigers. They luck into missing Kluber here, so you've got to get the victory in the game that he's starting here today. Plus, it'd be nice to get him off the schneid and get Corey Kluber his first victory of the season here today. Man, I'm looking ahead there because they just released those pitching matchups for this weekend. I'm going back to Saturday, man. Bauer and Alfredo Simon. That's going to be a good one. And then there's a lefty looming. It looks like, unless something changes for Detroit, looks like it'll be Kyle Lobstein going on Sunday. So they'll have a lefty there. First one they face, though, because they've got Samardzija today and then Green and Simon, so it'll be a dose of righties in a row before they get to that on Sunday. But, yeah, back to last night's game. Carrasco, who will be out there Sunday against those Tigers, 8 strikeouts, 5 and fly last night. And that's what I was kind of getting to when we circle back to it, is you don't look too badly at that. I mean, with everything that he's been through, it was like, hey, I'm good. And Tito said, hey, bullpen will take care of it. And going back out there, trusting it in those guys' hands, and they took care of the business that needed to be taken care of. Carrasco, only real slip-up yesterday, that solo home run early to Abreu, left that one up there. Abreu took care of it. Other than that, great game for Carrasco, the bullpen as well. And talking about those starters, Bauer, Kluber, Carrasco. Each of their first 3 starts of the season here, when you roll through the rotation 3 times now, the Indians' top trio has a 1.9 ERA. They've combined to give up just 11 earned runs so far in the season, 69 strikeouts. They're averaging 11, almost 12 per 9 for those 3 guys. Great start to the season for them, and really the one thing, as we know, that's kept the Indians from just totally falling off because of the lack of offense. And Ryan Rayburn, yesterday, who was it? Jeff Gorman brought him up, and he continued that. Now, 8 of his last 14, 6 of those 8 hits for Rayburn, extra base hits. It'd be really good to see him going and add that to the offense. Brantley as well. And as I said, Cody Allen, not a save situation, but you had to get him right back on the horse again. Saw a little bit of that yesterday. I thought it was kind of good to see that, even though some people might say, hey, why? I say, hey, why not? So there you go. Matter of fact, the phones are ringing. I was going to hit a break. Instead, I'm going to go to you guys on the phones here. Caller, you're up on the Sports Fix. Oh, wait, you know what? I should probably allow you to talk. You're trying to talk, but they can't hear you. Now let's try it. Now you're live on the Sports Fix.
Yeah, good morning, J-Rocc.
Hey, good morning. This is Bruce. What's up, buddy?
Hey, not much. Couple of things.
I know you were at the Cavs game last night, but
oh yeah,
did you watch the Indians?
Awesome, actually.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, I had a couple buddies there too, man. That pregame, all the hoopla, it's great stuff, man. But did you catch the Tribe afterwards, or are you calling to?
Oh yeah, I got home in time to see the 6th inning on.
Well, there you go. So
missed a whole lot of action.
Go ahead.
Of course, I had the radio in my ear, so I heard Santana's home run, but no, a couple of things about the Cavs game last night. Way too many turnovers.
Bruce,
LeBron
how you
is
gonna go? Bruce, hold on. I love you, but how are you, of all people, going to jump my Indians conversation over to the Cavs? I mean, I will gladly.
I just wanted to get that off my mind because I've seen LeBron last night throw a couple of no-look passes. Maybe you should look.
Oh, man, I'll tell you, I will gladly talk Cavs with you, but I'm just shocked. We weren't talking about the Browns. I wasn't talking about uniforms. I was talking about the Indians. And Bruce, Mr. Cleveland Indian, is going to come on and go, hey, let's talk about the Cavs. All right, man, whatever.
I'm still kind of hyped, I mean, that was a great game last night.
Yeah, I was going to do that next anyway. We were going to take the break, and I was jumping right into the Cavs game, so there we go, man. And it was a great atmosphere. And I'm going to talk more about this when we come back, but I like that it hasn't been super, super simple as some people. I'll tell you what, watching the game last night, here's what I think. I think the Cavaliers, is we always talk about how good they can be when they're playing at their best and how special they look. And I think the Cavs at their best are the reason that we also see the Cavs at their worst. And honestly, I think it's because they have that ability to be so scary good, as we've seen defensively. When they are jumping in the passing lane, it doesn't matter if their shots are going in or not. When they're controlling the game on the defensive end of the ball, they're getting out in front. Some of those fast breaks and the length of those outlet passes down the floor, boom, 2 half-court passes and an alley-oop and coming off the blocked shot from Mozgov. That one sequence, coming off the block from Mozgov, out to LeBron at half-court, LeBron with the half-court alley-oop to Kevin Love. It was disgusting.
White man can't jump. That was beautiful.
Disgusting. Yeah, he said Billy Ho from White Man Can't Jump. But,
exactly.
But seriously, that's the stuff that I'm talking about defensively. But because they're able to do that, because they're able to be so good at times, it's why they're able to be bad at times. And I don't mean they're ever horrible, but we know those lollygag stretches that they go through, I think, and this is going to bite them eventually. I'm not saying it's going to cost them a series, but it's going to cost them a game against a team like Chicago. They know they've got that switch, and when teams have that, then they can sometimes get into those lulls as well, and you sense that with this Cavs team, but then they flip that switch and turn it on, and they go to that next level, and then sometimes they lull back down. When they lull back down against the Bulls, they're going to lose a game in the fourth quarter because that team's not going to let you turn it back on at will, and that's important. They have to learn that lesson. That's the one thing that I'm seeing in this series is that ability. But I like that the Celtics, hey, man, they came out in the first game and they fought. They came out in the second game and they fought even harder. They're not going away, and that's what the Cavs need here in the first round. I didn't want them to go to war in the first round because you get too bloodied up before you get too deep in the playoffs, but I did want them to have a little bit of a challenge, and the Celtics are at least playing with them for half of a game before the Cavs pull away.
Okay, here's my thing, though. Has anybody else noticed that Isaiah Thomas is killing us, going to his left?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, in
why
general,
don't they force him to the right? When they forced him to the right, he passed the ball last night. When they forced him to the left, he shot.
No, I hear what you're saying. Matter of fact, he had a couple of really nice drives on the Cavs where, I mean, they played good defense on him on a couple of them, and he's got that ability that Kyrie has to get through just a crack, just a crease and get that ball up to the hoop. And you're like, how did he get that through the arms? There's all these arms and these big giant guys, and he does have a good.
And he looks so short out there. He looks like Moscow's kid,
But he
you
just
just
you're
want
right.
to take him by the hand and lead him down to the other end,
He does, but I'm not surprised at what he's done in general. He won he was second in the Sixth Man of the Year award or whatever for a reason. I mean, he's the spark coming off the bench, man. The last night, I think the Cavs bench scored like 7 points, by the way. I mean, the starters just carrying the way. That's something else I'll get into in a minute as well. But I'm with you. But to the opposite side, you and I talked about that off the air, and the ability of some players not to go both ways. But the majority of his have definitely come all in the same direction. You are right.
Okay, next thing was J.R. Smith last night. That guy was like everywhere. He was like 3 people on the floor at the same time. He anticipated almost every pass. You know what?
I agree. I think because his shot's not falling, that he's really trying to zero in a little more, even more on the defensive side, because he knows that his shot's not falling right now.
I don't think it's not so much his shots aren't falling. I think he's afraid to play real tight defense because of all the calls he got in Game 1.
Well, that's true, too. They were, yeah, absolutely. You could see how frustrated he was in that first game. It was clear as day.
Yeah, he said, I didn't know the guy had Kobe Bryant on the back of his shirt, you know? Like, every time I touched him, I got whistled, you know? I was like, geez, you know? So he played excellent defense last night. I mean, he was in the passing lane before the Celtic player was.
Absolutely. And that's what he's got to do. That's what I mean, especially when he's struggling offensively. I already saw, I don't know if you guys did, I can't remember, I think it was in the Plain Dealer. I think they already started to pull up J.R. Smith's stats in some of his other, that was it, in some of his other playoff series. I saw him say, is J.R. Smith Mo Williams 2.0 is what they were asking about that because, Mo Williams, and of course I loved Mo Williams when he played for the Cavs, man, but, he was 18-point-a-game guy during the regular season. Playoffs, everything dropped during the playoffs a little bit. He was not as big. Of course, remember LeBron accused him of dying down in the moment, but J.R. Smith, they went through all of his playoff runs, and I guess this pattern is here because I'm looking at it on paper, and there's definitely a pattern of each time his teams have gone into the postseason, his statistics have dipped, especially offensively. His shooting percentages dropped on average 10 to 12% in each switch from the regular season to the postseason. In 2009-10, he averaged 15 points and 41%, and it went to 11 and 36. In 2010, same thing, and so on. Pretty much the same drop each season. So they were already asking that question. I don't know. I've never seen enough of a sample size of playoff stuff. This is our first run with J.R. Smith, so I don't know if that's true or not. But as long as he does, as you said, as long as he locks in, as long as he's stealing, what he had, 4 or 5 steals last night.
Yeah, I think he had 5 steals.
That we've got enough places to get offense. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to need offense from J.R. Smith. We are. But that when your night is not there offensively, as long as you lock in defensively or rebounds, somebody else will pick up the slack. That is the beauty of the way this team is made up.
Yeah, even when Moskov got in trouble with fouls, Tristan came in and played excellent. He didn't. It's like they didn't skip a beat. He grabbed the rebounds. He got the outlet passes. They just, they interchanged real well.
Oh, yeah. Don't even get me going. I'm going to talk about Mozgov. I've got to get to the break here in a minute and come back, and we'll get back into this game because Mozgov was sick last night. 5 blocked shots. He was all over the place defensive. Mozgov, I'm telling you, him and Tristan Thompson, who also had one heck of an interesting stat line, the world's going to discover, especially a guy like Tristan. Mozgov had a little bit of name, but not a ton yet in the NBA. Both of those guys are going to have a whole lot more when these playoffs are done because people are going to nationally start to figure out, especially Tristan Thompson, what he's got and what he brings to a basketball team. Oh,
no doubt. One thing about the Tribe, I got to take my hat off to Carlos Carrasco last night. I mean, he actually went in the dugout and said, he was feeling a little tired, and Tito got him out right away. But coming off of the shot to the face, 8 strikeouts last night. He didn't walk anybody. I mean, he was like he hadn't never missed a beat.
Yeah, and you know what? I said it there. We keep forgetting when you did it again. Go back a couple more weeks to the Heart Scare, and that too. If I'm Carlos Carrasco, I'm wondering if I didn't, cross a black cat or something 6 months ago, and like, wait, what's going on here? So give him credit for getting back on the horse and doing it well.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, that's, like I said, that's a hats-off performance last night.
You know it.
One other thing, the Indians have 11 home runs this year, all
solos. All solo home runs, I know,
man.
They
can't seem to hit with men on base, but, you empty the bases,
we got to get men on
shot.
base, and then we've got to hit home runs while we're there. It's a process, Bruce. It's like the Browns say. It's a process, man.
Like the Cavs at the beginning of the season. It's a process.
You know it, man. First, we got to get them on base. Then we'll get the home runs while they're on base. You can't ask for too much at once, man.
Exactly. You can't have good pitching and good bullpen at the same time. You got to take one or the other.
Absolutely.
And Cody Allen came in last night, got a 1-2-3 ninth, and struck out 2 batters.
Let me ask you something. Some people didn't like that just because he's your closer. I say, hey, I don't care. Get him right back out there and find out.
Get him right back on the horse. Don't let him think about it.
Well, not only that, you need to find out if he can bounce back. You need to throw him. Why wait until the next save situation? If I'm Terry Francona, I want to know, do I have a problem here or not? I'm going to throw this guy right back out here and see if he gets it back together. I know it's not a save, but at least now I can throw him back in on a save situation. Okay, he's good. He's good.
No problem at all. You know, and I was going to say, he faced, pretty much the same hitters that he had the night before, except for he faced all of them the night before, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
So, I can't give him any credit
7 hits in a row. 7 hits in a row, as we know. But I will say this, if you're looking for the good, and that's what I do, take out the 9th inning and look at the Chicago series so far and tell me that that's not a positive step forward for the Indians.
Yeah, but our starting pitching has dominated so far, except
Dominating. Yeah, I know.
Except for House, he's had a little trouble. And now that McAllister's in the bullpen, that's really the right spot for him, I think. He just seems to be more comfortable, coming out of the pen.
And I hear you there, too. I hear you there.
He gave up that hit last night, but that was a weak hit. You couldn't have rolled that thing out there any slower.
But it's good to know that you can switch him out if you need to, stretch him out, and that he's very versatile. That's a good – and a guy like that, you usually would rather have them in the bullpen because it's easier to stretch him out and get a start if you need to than to go the opposite way.
And not only that, but he can go more than one inning. I mean, we have a lot of pitchers, but they only pitch to one batter or, maybe a couple or maybe an inning.
Absolutely.
But,
look what happened to Carrasco.
He can go 2 or 3.
Look what happened to Carrasco. You need a guy that if your pitcher gets accidentally hit in the face with a ball in the first inning, 8 pitches into the game, this guy can jump in and give you 4 or 5 innings and not kill your bullpen. You have to have that.
Right. You kind of need a long man just, for emergency purposes only, if nothing else.
People, that's part of the advanced metrics. I think a lot of people in those fields don't see the value of the long relief guy. And there's certain those old school baseball things that the advanced sabermetrics people go, well, that doesn't, So they hate the bunts. They hate bunts. They despise people that bunt. I'm like, isn't that the fabric of part of the game? But no, you're just wasting it out. I'm like, I guess, but I mean, they've been wasting it out for 100 years, and it worked well for everybody else.
I was going to say, isn't that the way the game was designed, to get them on, get them over, get them in?
Oh, yeah, but I mean, that's one of the big things is, man, they're anti-bunting, and that's one that I can't get with. I can get with some of those statistics for sure, but I mean, I don't know. They think you're giving away an out to move a man over one base, and they've got the numbers that say it just doesn't pay off. But I don't know. I watch guys all the time fundamentally move a guy over with a bunt, and the next guy gets the hit and drives him in, and it seems to work. But, whatever. Maybe I'm just an old fuddy-duddy here in my
it could
mid-30s,
be. I think we both are then because, I can't understand getting rid of the bunt.
Nah, but it's all good.
But they're also talking about, that the shift is ruining baseball. Everybody has a shift now.
See, I think what's ruining baseball...
It takes away the offense.
You know what? What's ruining baseball is your inability to beat the shift, because that's the easiest thing I've ever seen in my life. And, of course, I'm not a baseball player, so I can say this and not have to go prove it. But, listen, if the shift is that bad, then learn how to slap the ball to the open half of the field. It can't be that difficult if you're a professional hitter. But these guys don't learn how to slap the ball to the opposite field. They don't learn those little skills because they're too busy swinging for the fences and doing the, you know what I mean? The things that make Sports Center. I would make a living off a kill. You would never be able to shift against me because I would learn how to slap that ball to the opposite field every time, or how to just get that nice long bunt that goes right down through. I don't care if you call it cheap. If you're going to run the shift, I'm taking first base every time.
Okay, I got one more thing for you. I don't know if you read the article in the Sporting News. I don't even know the guy's name that wrote the article. But he wants all the stadiums' outfield fences to be the same distance.
Well, you know what? Okay, I can understand. Well, I can understand that argument, though, Bruce, and I've had that talk with people before. That's funny you bring that up because it makes sense. Think about it. I get it from a baseball perspective. One of the charms of baseball is that every park is unique, and every park has its own dimensions. Some parks have the short right field fence, and some have the Cleveland had the most impossible center field. You know what I mean? There was all of these different things. Some parks you just couldn't. But wouldn't that? Okay, apply that to another sport. What if the Cavaliers, when they switched over to Boston for Game 3, in Boston the 3-point line was only 12 feet away, and the foul line was 15 feet back, and the baskets were only 10 feet 5 inches? Or what if the things were different there because it makes Boston unique? You couldn't play basketball that way, could you? Because you wouldn't have the same equipment at every stadium.
Well, that's where we disagree, because that's what makes baseball unique from other sports. I agree. I mean,
no. I said that. I agree with you. That's what makes baseball unique. But technically, they're literally playing with different rules and different equipment in every different stadium, and that's kind of you can see the argument for non-baseball people why they would say, well, how come if I hit a ball 400 feet in Cleveland it's a home run, but if I do it in Detroit it's an out? And I can understand that too. I can understand the argument.
But going the other way, didn't they try that once with Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Cincinnati? I'm trying to think of a couple more, but they were all built the same way. All the stadiums were exactly the same.
Well, it's not the stadium doesn't have to be built. I mean, you can put temporary. Cleveland Stadium used to do it all the time. Every year, Cleveland Stadium would change the dimensions of the field depending on if they hit more or less home runs the year before. They'd move those fences in and out. But I don't. It's not the dimensions of the park. It's just the fence that gets me. If you wanna build it all funky looking, quirky from an airplane, that's fine. But I get the argument that a home run should be the same dimensions in every park. I'm not saying that I 100% agree, because I get the old school baseball, but it makes sense why people would argue that, because it's like saying that a three-pointer is 20 feet in Cleveland and 10 feet in Brooklyn, or some silly rule like that, and then you'd go, well, how can we play with different three-point lines? Well, it's because that's the way they play basketball. To a non-baseball person, it's kind of silly.
Right, exactly. And that's the way I got it when I read the article. I was thinking, this guy had lost his freaking mind, it's like, how, that's what makes our sport different than everybody else's. Our football field's not 100 yards long.
Well,
and
I know, but to the football fan, they're going, well, what if in Cleveland you needed 15 yards for a first down? And I know there's a joke in there somewhere, but we'll ignore that for now. But what if in Cleveland it was 15 yards, but in Pittsburgh it's 12 because it's different? You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. It would be... Or the crossbars. What if when you kicked a field goal in Cleveland, they were 30 feet in the air, and when you kick a field goal in Pittsburgh, they're 5 feet off the ground? And you know what I mean? That wouldn't exactly... But it's the same thing because it's part of the park. So I can understand the argument. Bruce, I got to go, my man. Great call.
Not a problem. Thanks, J-Rocc.
You got it. Man, he squeezed a whole nother segment into there, man. That's a great topic. I should have put him on hold and came back from the break here, man. All right, we'll get this break out of the way. We'll come back. We'll get a quick recap. We'll talk a little Cavs hoops, set the stage for Dan Wismar. Then we'll get Dan in on the conversation. Sit tight. Coming back. Don't go anywhere. We're talking some Cavs hoops. We've still got a lot more to come. Talking Browns, talking Cavs, talking all kinds of stuff. More Indians and so much more. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to The Sports Fix.
The Sports Fix, the show that asks the question,
what you talking about, Lou? What you talking about, Lou? What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about, Lou? What you talking about? What you talking about, Lou? What you talking about? What you talking about, Lou?
We'll be right back.
The wait is finally over, guys. Baseball season is here at last, and the excitement continues all season long. Here we go again at DraftKings.com, the official daily fantasy partner of Major League Baseball. Daily fantasy means no season-long commitments, just instant cash, instant gratification. Why wait until the end of the season to claim victory when you can win huge cash every day? At DraftKings, it's like a brand new season every time you play. Just select 2 pitchers and 8 position players, stay under your salary cap, and you could be on your way to an enormous payday. Last year, Peter from Colorado won $1 million at DraftKings in one day just playing fantasy baseball. Hundreds of thousands of fantasy sports fans, just like you and I, have already cashed in at DraftKings. Now it's your turn, baby. Hurry to DraftKings.com now and enter promo code SPREAKER to play for free. You could win part of the $300 million. Yes, I said $300 million in prizes being awarded this baseball season. Use promo code SPREAKER for free entry now at DraftKings.com. DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com.
The Sports Fix is on iHeartRadio. Download the free iHeart app today. Subscribe to the show and get your fix. No football? No problem at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted. From their awesome Wing Mondays to every single Cavaliers and Buckeye Hoops games in full HD, the excitement never stops. Every day of the week brings a different set of food and amazing drink specials. Fight fans, Harry Buffalo North Olmsted is the home for every UFC pay-per-view live on the big screens. And let's not forget their mouth-watering trademark, the Bison Burger. Nobody does bison like Harry Buffalo. The perfect combination of healthy and delicious. What are you waiting for? Get to Harry Buffalo, just outside Great Northern Mall today. Harry Buffalo. Join the herd.
Man, do I love card night. You ready, boys? You got a king?
Go, fish dad.
Oh, come on. This is WWE superstar Titus O'Neil. The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. Real time spent making real decisions, creating real victory.
I'm the greatest man in the world!
And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize. I mean, a really real prize. Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs.
The trophy's 12 feet high, and it is glorious!
Football, baseball, hoops, you name it, they have it. Plus, they have awesome draft kits and party supplies to make all your preseason activities the envy of everyone. If your league needs a ring, belt, or trophy, or you want to upgrade what you already have, there's literally only one place to go. If you're going to be a fantasy jock, do it right.
It's mine, the most magnificent belt ever created, and it's mine.
With America's fantasy sports superstore, FantasyJocks.com.
Now, back to the Sports Fix.
In Northeast Ohio, nothing is given. Everything is earned. I'm coming home.
I'm hurting, baby. We need to score. We've been defeated since 1964. LeBron, we love you, and love, we need you too. Kyrie and Dellavedova deep in the queue. I've got a despair for that ring. Just wanna be wearing that ring. It was killing me while you're away. LeBron, we welcome you home. Just bring that trophy back home, and you're gonna make Dan Gilbert stay. King James, Kyrie, Kevin Love, we got our own big three. We're all in, and we need that title here in CLE. Our hearts have been broken way too many times.
I've got some ridiculous friends out there, man, and one of them came up with this bitty right here that's playing in the background. All in, Cavaliers, always fun. A Little parody song there for the Cavs as they roll through, and they definitely rolled through the first two games here, not completely unscathed, and that's what I like to see, man. A little bit of challenge. Again, if it's so easy, then the first time you hit a bump in the road, it all falls apart. And I'm telling you, that bump in the road is coming most likely about 6 or 7 days from now, depending, of course, on how Milwaukee and Boston cooperate over the next couple of days. But if this thing goes, both of these series go the way I think they're going, looks like we'll probably be looking at Tuesday, Wednesday in that territory for a game one of the next round of the playoffs here. And that's, like I said, a week from today. I would guess a week. If both teams sweep a week from today, they would most likely meet in game one of that one. I know we're getting presumptive because Boston, they brought a heck of a fight to Cleveland, and they're going to bring even more of a fight when they get home in front of their home crowd. Brad Stevens is a good coach. He's got that team playing hard, fighting hard as a team. I mean, their bench is coming up that we've seen. We just talked, Bruce called before the break, Isaiah Thomas. That's what I like to see, man. A team that's not backing down. They don't care. All they've got to do is come in and lay down, and they're not going to do that. They're like, hey, man, we're going to fight. And that's what the Cavaliers needed, in my opinion. And you're seeing some of the, as I say, the good of the Cavs almost sets up some of their own bad, because you can see where it comes from, because they can be so scary good at times when they get. And again, Boston, at each time, both of the first two games that Boston has got their biggest lead or grabbed what they thought was their most control of the game, that's the exact moment where the game stopped for Boston and started for Cleveland. And quickly, defensively, the Cavaliers did it. Yesterday, same thing. They found themselves down 9. One timeout later, they chop 5 points away. Next timeout later, they're up by 4, and so on and so forth, and off we go. And that play that I mentioned earlier really epitomized it. Mozgov was all over the play. I believe he had 4 of those blocks in the first half, had 5 blocks, but the one that just epitomized the game, the series, everything, the difference between the two teams is just as Boston's trying to make a little mini run and come back. Mozgov with the block, down a half-court pass to LeBron James on the sideline. One catch, turn, and pass later. Another half-court lob, this one to Kevin Love for the big alley-oop. Same thing a little bit early or a little bit later with the fast break opportunity that came off the steal, out to Kyrie, to LeBron, up on the alley-oop, another good one. Those things where they use their defense. I mean, LeBron defensively really acquitting himself a lot. Just in general, defensively, the Cavs undo whatever mistakes they made, and they've used it in both of the first two games. They're going to need it a whole lot more. As I said, that's what makes them so good. That's what separates, to me, this Cavs team from some of the other Cavs teams, those other LeBron teams, is that defensive side. Not that they were poor defensive teams before, but they were not this kind of the swarming type of in the passing lanes. Lots of very athletic guys with big long wingspans and abilities to get in the passing lanes, jump those passes. Add that to having a couple of the best players in the league. Add that to the athleticism of these guys. Add that to the ability to stretch the floor. That's where the offense is triggered from the defense and just makes it impossible for teams to figure out. It's pick your poison, as we keep saying, which way they're going to beat you. And you saw the tit for tat, by the way, as I get going here. You guys want to keep the conversation going. We're going to get Dan Wismar in just a few minutes. 216-539-7535, Facebook.com/TheSportsFix. Tweet with us at TheSportsFix, CLE. Email us, TheSportsFix@AOL.com. You saw the adjustment there from Game 1 and 2 with the Celtics continuing to decide how they want to defend LeBron and how they want to defend his passing lanes. They were doing a good job of they watched the film from Game 1, saw the lanes that he liked to pass out of when he drove, and they made sure that they had guys roaming in those areas. And so at those points, LeBron, where he was tentative in some of the portions, especially of Game 1 there, you saw he used that quick first step. What's the point of being quicker than most players in the NBA? Forget letting guys set up. And he said it himself. Some of it was just getting everything cleared out of his head, getting out there and playing that style, because when he did that, that's when the Cavs, especially late, those couple buckets that they needed when Boston made one more run, that's when he was able to do it. He was able to turn that corner and get to the defense just a little bit before they couldn't bring the double team in time. They couldn't rotate the extra help over. That's what you do. And then once you're at that point, then Boston or any team is beat. When you get to that point, anybody's beat, because now you can't decide, is he coming in the lane at that? You can't block every passing lane. And the one thing that worries me is, it was, a matter of fact, I don't know what feed you guys were watching, because I know the game's on local and the game's also on TNT. And when you're listening to the announcers, but one point that they kept coming back to, I mean, you didn't have to have an announcer point it out, but maybe you guys, if you were watching the TNT feed, the fact that it was all LeBron and Kyrie. And look, it should be your two. I mean, those are superstar players in a superstars league. So part of me says, that's like, what if Jordan and Pippen scored all the points in the fourth quarter of a Bulls playoff game? Would anybody be saying anything? So part of me says, hey, that's what, as long as it's not like they scored all the points going 5 for 40 in the fourth quarter combined, and they were just shooting everything at will but missing it. It was a very effective, efficient thing, and but the point that they kept going back to on the commentary was, Kenny kept saying, hey, they kept looking for each other. They're only passing it to each other. Still, I will go back to looking at those old Cavs teams. There's a 1A and a 1B now. Before it was 1A, B, C, D, E, and his name was LeBron, and everybody else stood around and waited for him to pass the ball. I mean, there's a difference now just in that dynamic alone. And for all the talk of, well, you're going to need to pass it and somebody else is going to need to shoot, I do agree. At some point, somebody else, I mean, of course, but you just said a very easy statement to brush past. We've established that LeBron James and Kyrie Irving are two of the best players in the NBA. Put them in whatever number order you want. They're two of the best players in the NBA. You just made it sound really easy to stop them both at the same time. Like, when I agree that if some team figures out a way to stop them both at the same time, that is the point that they need a third option. But you really make it sound simple to stop Kyrie Irving and LeBron James at the same time from taking over a basketball game. If you can do that, well, that's going to be one hell of a series to watch, and we may just have to tip the hat to you, and you may win. But I just love it, because that does kind of make it sound like an easier task than what it is. Try to stop one of those guys. Not the easiest task. When you say, okay, well, now you got to stop them. You know what I'm saying? So, and then at that point, there you go, because we haven't even talked about, to me, the secret weapon all along, and that's the double dose inside. That's Tristan Thompson, and that's Timofey Mozgov. I mean, we've said all season long how they saved the season when they traded for Mozgov. J.R. Smith is a great addition, bringing some firepower, but offense was not the thing that this team was lacking. It was lacking wing defenders, athleticism on the defensive end, and a rim protector. Offense is great to add, but that was kind of a bonus that came with J.R. Smith. Mozgov erasing shots, those block shots inside. All of a sudden, you can take so many more chances. That's why the Cavs can get in the passing lanes. That's why they can be so swarming on defense, is because you know that if you go for the steal and you miss it, you got Mozgov waiting behind you to erase that mistake, and he was doing it last night. And then you see how electric they can be when you go with the quick switch from offense to defense just like that. And Tristan Thompson, I don't care. I'll say it if nobody else wants to. There's the silent. That's a silent MVP anytime. You got a guy that can come in and play 25, 26 minutes. I don't have his minutes in front of me. I'll pull it up in a minute. But I'll have it by the break. But 11 rebounds, no shots taken, none wanted. None. I don't even want to take a shot. His job was to get in there. Before he entered the game, Boston was doubled up on the Cavs on the rebounding side of the ball. I think it was 16-8 at that point in time. His mission, we don't need offense. I'm coming in to lock it down, to get the offensive rebounds. How many times, at least 2 or 3 that I can think of off memory, that I saw Tristan Thompson grab an offensive rebound with 3 or 4 Boston Celtics players around him. That shouldn't happen, but he did it. He did it several times on key possessions that allowed the Cavs to get second and third chance opportunities when they were stretching leads back out late in the game when Boston was trying to come back. That's incredible. We've talked all season long. I always put over Tristan Thompson. I remember from the day he was drafted. You know me. I get him wrong sometimes, but when I get him right, I get him right. And I knew when I liked Tristan Thompson from the day the Cavs drafted him, just not the way some people like him. I know some people go, wow, well, fourth you could have took. And yeah, I know who they could have took, but I love the game of Tristan Thompson. And he's not great for every team, but every championship team has a Tristan Thompson, and he's great for this team. He's exactly what they need. Thompson and Mozgov eating teams up inside between the boards. And when you got guys that shoot the way this team does and that has the offensive firepower, you need that stuff there. Mozgov, he is a straight-up center. Dump it down to him, he'll go to the rack. He'll put it up. He'll shoot the hook. He can shoot with both hands. He got a little jumper, but he doesn't need it. He's not afraid to just dig down low. Do you know in the playoffs what an advantage that is? It doesn't matter how good the other team is. You can control and keep yourself within one or two baskets of any playoff basketball game when you have a guy like Mozgov. When you have the ability to get a guaranteed bucket down the floor when you need it, which is in a half-court game, that's what Mozgov gives you, is the ability to dump it down low and take the easy two. And I know he's working hard for it, but what I mean is it's the easy two compared to shooting a three or a different type of higher-risk shot. When you've got the ability to always do that, you're always able to stay within a bucket or two. You're always able to control the pace. You don't ever have those because you know what I mean. You can't have those stretches where you miss one or two buckets, the other team scores 4 straight, and all of a sudden in 2 minutes span, not even, you've given up an 8 or a 10-point spread. When you're always able to get your two, when you've always got a big man to go down to, then you know you're always able to stem those runs, and the other team at best is matching you basket for basket, and you stop yourself from getting into big holes. I mean, that is it. There's more than that to it, but that's just one of the ways that having a guy like that is a luxury, and he's so rare in today's NBA. And then I love watching him run the floor. He's out there like a 7-foot gazelle. He's just out. It's amazing watching him run the floor step for step with Smith and Love and Kyrie and LeBron and these guys, man. It's amazing. That's a hell of an athletic skill set for anybody that size. But guys, all of those together, it adds up, yes, to the victory last night. And I'm not trying to act like foregone conclusion, but, you know, it was the victory last night against the Boston Celtics. It will be interesting to see, because I think if there is a game that Boston can steal, it's Game 3. The first game at home crowd fired up. I do believe that that's the one that they think they can get. They can steal. They can come out and get it. They're going to throw everything that they've got at the Cavaliers, because at this point, when a team has a 2-0 lead and home court advantage, they win the series. I think it's 94% of the time. So it's a very obviously uphill battle there for a team, and they know that. And I think if the Cavs have a shot at losing one, it'll be in Game 3. And if they can withstand that and win, then they're going to sweep this thing. Because when you win, when the team throws everything they got at you and you win, you break their back. And so I think that's the place that Boston's going to be at. They're either going to win and they're going to cut it to, and I still think the Cavs win in 5. Even if they do, they'll just have to come home and win Game 5 next week. But if they're going to win, it's going to be Game 3. And if the Cavs are able to withstand that all the momentum and the home stuff that comes with that, then I think they sweep this series here. That's going to be really key. And a matter of fact, perfect timing. We're right up the end of hour 1. Let's get to the break and let's get Dan Wismar in. We'll pick up right there. We'll talk about these Cavs, talk about the Indians, talk about the Browns as well. Today, hey, not overlooking them and sweeping past. The schedule comes out. We've got some stuff to talk about there as well. So let's do it. Let's take a break. Here comes the news, and then we'll start hour 2 with Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan, from EverybodyHatesCleveland.com, and here on the Sports Fix every Monday and Wednesday. We're talking Cavs, we'll talk Browns, we'll talk little Buckeyes hoops. Micah Potter heading over there. Tribe, all of that with Dan the Man Wismar coming up next after the news here on the Sports Fix.
We need you to Kyrie and Dellavedova deep in the queue. I've got a despair for that ring. Just wanna be wearing that ring. It was killing me while you're away. LeBron, we welcome you home. Just bring that trophy back home, and you're gonna make Dan Gilbert stay. King James, Kyrie, Kevin Love, we got a big three. We're all in, and we need that title here in CLE. Our hearts have been broken way too many times. Need that win in Cleveland before I die. We're all in, and we need that title here in CLE.
And now, a very special announcement from the Sports Fix.
Black bears weigh between 200 and 500 pounds. Brown bears weigh between 300 and over 1,000 pounds. Black bears run away from you. Brown bears run at you. When attacked by a bear, simply lie still on the ground and cover your face and head with your hands. When the bear is finished batting you around and mauling you, contact the U.S. Forest Service.
And that was a message from the Sports Fix.
Hey, this is Scott Fujita, and you're listening to the Sports Fix.
Sports Fix listeners, do you tweet? So do we. So tweet with us 24/7 at the Sports Fix CLE.
Today on Save on Taxes, we ask 100 people what costs less than filing your taxes with IRS Free File.
Car seat. Oh, a pair of shoes.
The correct answer is nothing. When you use Free File, you get brand name software, tax prep, e-filing, and help with the new healthcare provisions, all for free.
So, did we win anything?
Everybody wins. freefile.irs.gov. It's fast, it's safe, it's free.
Business owners and professionals, do you want to take your business, your product, your team, your event to the next level? You want to advertise right here with the Sports Fix. Our listeners are among the most loyal listeners, terrestrial or internet. The Sports Fix universe is not only the radio show, but tens of thousands of fans on Facebook and Twitter. Email me, Jerry Myers, thesportsfix@AOL.com. That's thesportsfix@AOL.com. And let me help you swing for the fences and hit it out of the park right here on the Sports Fix.
Whether it's an oil change or a new set of tires, Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck has you covered for your car care needs. They're your neighborhood quick service experts. They also offer a low price tire guarantee. Choose from 13 brands, and if you find the same tires at a lower price within 30 days, Quick Lane at Valley Ford will refund the difference. 5715 Canal Road, right under the 480 bridge in Valley View. Come see why life is better in the Quick Lane. quicklane.com/Valley Ford Truck.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Signs and Ship, the official printing source of the Sports Fix. Locations in Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Florida. Find out more at signsandship.com.
News break.
Good morning, I'm Bob Picozzi. Only one team in the NBA won more games this season than Atlanta, but a Cleveland-Chicago Eastern Conference final seems to be everybody's pick. The 60-win Hawks will try to take a 2-game-to-none lead over the Nets tonight in Atlanta in Game 2 in their first-round playoff series. Washington got 28 points from Bradley Beal and 26 from John Wall in a 117-106 win last night in Toronto to take a 2-game-to-none lead. Wall also had 17 assists.
We didn't accept the trap this game. We was accepting the trap last game and picking up our dribble. We didn't keep the pace that we wanted. Tonight we kept the pace, and like Brad said, we all didn't just settle for jump shots. I shot 0 free throws the first game, 11 tonight. So we've been aggressive attacking the paint.
Game 3 will be Friday night in Washington. Speaking of Washington, a Nicholas Backstrom goal 11 minutes into overtime gave the Caps a 2-1 road win over the Islanders last night. That evens their Stanley Cup Eastern Conference first-round playoff series at 2. The new-look Eagles with quarterback Sam Bradford and running back DeMarco Murray will host the Atlanta Falcons on September 14th in the first NFL Monday Night Football game of the season. The entire NFL schedule was released last night.
Nothing feels as good as a job done right. When it comes to cleaning up, Quickie Bulldozer brand push brooms are always the right call. Lightweight yet durable, they can handle all your cleanup needs. Look for the Quickie Bulldozer brand at Lowe's.
Now, back to the Sports Fix.
Oh my God, it's him. Crank it, Jerry.
See, she knows who's coming. She knows Dan the Man Wismar is coming up next. Welcome back to the Sports Fix as we roll into hour 2 here. J-Rocc with you, rolling on. Dan Wismar going to join me here. You guys can join me, as always, on Facebook and Twitter and all that. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix, CLE. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. And hey, I haven't asked this in a while. Wherever you're enjoying the show right now, maybe you're on TuneIn or Spreaker or Mixler, or maybe you're listening on iHeartRadio, or however you're enjoying the show, click the share button right now. It's available on every page that you use to listen to the show. Click the share button and share it on your Facebook, on your Twitter, on your Google Plus, or your Pinterest, or your Instagram, or you can Vine it, or Tumblr, or Reddit, or any of these other things that I'm already not aware of because I'll quickly turn into a dinosaur here. But I got most of them. I know all those. I'm sure there's some that I Snapchat it, Tinder, I don't know. I'm not looking for a date, but if you can get somebody to listen to the show, Tinder it out there as well. Tell somebody else to listen to the show as we get back into it. J-Rocc here, Dan Wismar. And by the way, as you heard during the news, as I'm getting Dan up on the show, talking NBA playoffs and all that, I'm not surprised at all. I said this before the series about Washington. I mean, I thought Toronto would I didn't think they'd lose both of the first 2 games at home. I mean, every home team has held serve in the playoffs except Toronto, who was swept in both of their home games here. But I knew Washington was going to be tough this year. They're like they're the team that, they didn't get the jump start of getting a LeBron James coming home to just change everything overnight, but they've been building to this. I mean, John Wall, Bradley Beal, that's a good squad that they've got. 17 assists last night for Wall, and 2-0. They may put it to the Raptors before and I told you guys, I wasn't a big Raptors guy. I knew, especially, they didn't match up at all with the Cavaliers, and I thought that they were just they were a good regular season team that was going to fade away in the playoffs, and Washington may do that quickly. But I'll tell you what, at this pace, Washington-Atlanta, that would be a very interesting second-round series. That's the other thing. I want to ask Dan when he comes back. When you guys heard and you can blame the old ESPN sports anchor guy there, but they were incorrect on their news update. Dan Wismar, are you with me?
I'm with you.
Yeah, as they said on the thing, they said, well, everybody's looking forward to a Cleveland-Chicago Eastern Conference final. That's not physically possible based on the bracket that the NBA has decided to use for the playoffs unless we're changing the bracket. The Cavs and the Bulls are going to meet in the second round. So he was incorrect when they said that. There's no way they can meet in the conference finals. But are you surprised before we talk about the Cavs, about Washington?
A little bit surprised. But, I think... First of all, I heard the guy, and I thought he was talking about just that they look like the 2 best teams in the East.
Well, maybe that's what he meant.
We're forgetting the Hawks a little bit. But, sure, surprised, and be glad to see the Wizards give the Hawks all they want and wear them down a little bit in that second round while we're dealing with the Bulls. But, yeah, you're right that I think the Cavs probably already casting their eyes a little bit westward towards Chicago to watch what's going on there, and sure, they look scary with a healthy Derrick Rose. So, that's they can't get ahead of themselves because the Celtics have been surprisingly tough these first 2 games. But I think I just wanted to echo, like you, sort of the silent MVP of the series being Tristan Thompson. I mean, I went back and I looked at a little bit at the last part of that game yesterday, sort of the progression of how things went, and I just started with 2:38, to go in the game. And at 2:38 in the game, LeBron hits a jumper, and he puts the Cavs up by 8. And at that point, a couple seconds later, Mozgov fouls Isaiah Thomas. Cavs take a timeout. Okay? From 2:38 I'm sorry, spitting here. From 2:38 on, and that's an eternity, as you know, in an NBA game.
Yeah.
The Cavs scored 4 points. Now, it was 95-87 with 2:38 to go after LeBron makes that jump shot. They come right back, and Mozgov picks up a foul, and Thomas makes both free throws. So really, with 2.5 minutes to go, it's a 6-point game. It's a 2-possession game, and the Cavs are only going to score 4 more points the rest of the way. And really, at that point, Mozgov sits, and who knows if Mozgov doesn't, make that foul at that moment. whether Blatt makes the move to bring Thompson back in. I'm going to give him credit for knowing what was going to come, and he was going to put Thompson in the game anyway. But at that point, they come down and LeBron blocks the shot by Zeller in the lane. They come back down and at a minute and a half, LeBron misses a three-pointer. Thompson gets that rebound. That and the next one, which he got at 43 seconds, by far the two biggest plays of the game, because it's a two-possession game with a minute and a half to go, tons of time, and the Cavs basically get 4 24-second clocks out of that minute and a half, or out of that 2 minutes, based on the two rebounds by Tristan Thompson. So it was bigger than I think anybody even made of it. You said, yeah, he got 11 rebounds, 5 offensive, but he got 2 huge ones in the last 2 minutes that allow the Cavs to run 2 24-second clocks each time, and there were no two bigger plays in the game.
Exactly, and one of those is the one that I was talking about, where there were 3 or 4 Boston Celtics and 1 Tristan Thompson, and he went up and got that rebound and bought another 24 seconds for the Cavs. I'm like, man, and then I think right after one of those, I think we're talking about the same time, but I believe I remember at one point it looked like the Cavs were going to go right at the rim, and then they pulled back and ran the clock. I'm going, yeah, that's what you do when you get the extra 24. Run it off. The hell with going right after a layup, and then that defeats the purpose. I mean, at this point, you're just trying to salt the game away. But yeah, Tristan Thompson. I mean, when you got a guy who can play 26 minutes and not care that he takes one single shot, man, those are the guys that championship teams are built on. Yeah, that's right. And the Cavs scored their 4 points immediately following each of those 2 offensive rebounds. First one was LeBron makes the driving layup at 1:13. And then after the second one, J.R. Smith misses a 23-footer. Thompson gets the rebound. And then just shortly after that, a few seconds later, 39 seconds, Kyrie gets fouled and goes to the line and makes both. So, and those are the last points they scored with 39 seconds to go, but really only 4 points in the last 2:38. And most NBA games, if you've got a 6-point lead, that is trouble time. If you only score 4 points in the last, 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes. So, just huge. And a couple other things about the game that I just wanted to mention. You got to give Red Stevens credit. The guy is a smart coach, a good coach. He knew after game one, and again, I don't profess to be any kind of basketball X's and O's guy, but what was obvious and what the commentators took note of was that he did adjust. Number one, we're going to double LeBron. We're going to make him give up the ball. We're going to get in his passing lanes, and we're going to deny the perimeter passing. We're going to challenge those perimeter passes. We're not going to let these guys whip the ball around at the 3-point line and get open looks from 3. And as a result of that, the Cavs shoot 7 of 29 from 3-point territory. 1 of 8 for Smith, and 1 of 5 for LeBron, 1 of 5 for Love. Basically turned off that 3-point game. Kyrie hit 3, but 3 of 8. And so that's not a bad number. But obviously, Stevens does his homework, and he comes out and he makes smart adjustments, effective ones. And yet, they still have the talent deficit, and they couldn't pull out the win. So, but afterwards, he was saying, "Hey, we did what we wanted to do. We held them to 99 points, and we were in the game with a minute and a half to go in a 2-possession game on the road." And he's right. The idea that the Cavs have dominated here, I don't think we've seen the Cavs play even close to their best game yet. I don't even think we've seen them play a good game yet. No, and, I agree. Hopefully they're saving that for Thursday night. No, I agree with you at all. Not a whole complete game. I mean, you've seen, and that's where, I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm trying to sound too philosophical when I say it, but as I was watching that game last night, it popped in my head. I said, the moments when this team is so good is the exact reason why this team can also be bad, because when you have, that's what it feels like to me, is that they know that they have that next gear, and they lollygag into it, and then that's when they get into shooting the long threes and like letting teams back into games, and then they flip that switch. And as you and I know, and everybody listening knows, that'll work against Boston. That is not going to work against a better team, and I think that's what the Cavs need to have happen. And then, do they respond? You have to take a punch to get up off the mat and get back in the fight.
I really thought that what we would see last night was that energy level from the opening tap. High energy, tenacious defense, hustle, and I don't know, didn't see it. Once again, fell behind by 9. And it almost looks like, and this is with LeBron leading, he's the leader. He sort of dictates what the tempo is going to be and how they're going to play. And it almost looks like he's pacing himself. He's pacing the team. He's relaxed, maybe too relaxed to suit the fan base, Well, and it's hard to fault him. He comes out and goes 37-6 or something like that. An average game for him, but it seems like maybe the strategy is, we'll pace ourselves, we'll take it easy, we'll see what happens, we'll play it by ear, and you can get away with that against the Celtics. But like you say, it's not going to work, and you're going to have that wire to wire tenacity, especially on the defensive end. From the opening tip to the very end, if you're going to survive playoff basketball, because it's a whole different breed.
Yep, it's funny you say pace yourself. I'm with you. It feels to me almost like, I don't want to say rope-a-dope, but the strategy almost feels like we know that they're going to bring it all. They're going to throw everything at us. So we're going to go ahead and let them let them get that 1.5 quarter surge of where they're just going to lay it out there. And that's kind of what we saw in both games. And then they reached the point where, and maybe LeBron James is very good at reading the flow of a basketball game as it goes. And I mentioned earlier, as we've seen, both games, when the Cavs got to their highest deficit of the game, was the moment where they took a timeout and the game changed at that point. And part of me wonders if that's not, I don't want to say the strategy, but maybe in the back of the mind. A guy like LeBron's been there. He's played 1 million playoff games, and you know that these teams that are spunky and that they've got a lot of fight, they're going to come balls to the wall, man. They're going to bring it to you. So take their best shot, take that buzzsaw, and then when they are starting to look for that second wind, that's when you come. And it just seemed like that's the way the first 2 games went, and that'll beat Boston. But as you said, when you get to Chicago, I don't care if you're in Cleveland, if you're in Chicago, wherever you're at, from tip-off until final buzzer, it better be 150%, because otherwise you're in trouble. You're not going to win those games like you will be here. But doesn't it kind of feel like they're letting – it's like when you play your little brother in the backyard and you let him go and he gets that lead on you early and he's talking trash and he's like, yeah, well, man, I'm getting you this time. And then you go, okay, now we've played enough basketball. Now I'm going to go ahead and block a couple shots, dunk a couple shots, and next thing you know, you send your brother out the driveway with his head down. And that's kind of the way it feels here with this series.
Well, I think that's what Brad Stevens was talking about after the game when he said, these guys can come at you in a hurry. You get a 9-point lead, you work your butt off to get a 9-point lead, and all of a sudden, wham, bam, it's 5, then it's 3. And then you're looking around and going, what happened to our 9-point lead? And they haven't been able to sustain that. And he said, that's what this team does. And he's right, that's what it does. They do step it up when the, when chips are down, I guess you might say. And so far, the chips haven't been down, in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes left. I mean, they're certainly down enough that had Cavs fans biting their fingernails last night. 6-point game with 3 minutes to go or whatever, and you've had the lead up as high as 14 in the second half, and you've let them come back to within 6 or 8, sort of back and forth. I don't think and they might have got down. Well, they did get down to 4, I think. At one point, fourth quarter, maybe even 3, but. At that time, it's nice to have Kyrie and LeBron, or either one can, create their own shot, take it to the hoop, at least get fouled, and they obviously made free throws last night like they haven't in a while. 19-20, I know at one point, I'm not sure where it ended up, but you make 19 your first 20, you're making your point. But yeah, I just recall last week or a couple weeks ago, whenever it was, when they were playing those back-to-back games against Boston, and Boston comes in here and beats a sort of a disinterested Cleveland team on their home floor and ends their winning streak. But then the Cavs go back, and the Celtics are still in it. They're trying to fight for a playoff spot. They're giving it all they've got in Boston on their home court. Cavs went up there and sort of ho-hum, we're beating you guys here. And we did. We took them down on their home floor in a game that mattered to them and didn't really matter to us. And I kind of feel like that's what's going to happen Thursday. It's going to be, okay, you guys have had your fun.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
at least I hope we see a more complete game, and at least we've got a very recent example of the Cavs going into Boston, playing a Celtics team that has a lot to lose and taking them down.
Like, to me, you heard what I said there. To me, Game 3 is the opportunity for Boston to win a game in this series. If the Cavs go up 3-0, I don't care how cocky they get. They're not going into Game 4 and going, oh, well, we can let this one slip away. They'll finish it off if they take the first 3. If Boston's coming to play, they're coming to do it in Game 3. They're going to throw everything that they've got at the Cavs, every ounce of energy, and that's the game where you either break their back or they get that victory. And either way, I think the Cavs ended in 5, even if so, but that's the one. It's Game 3, easily the most important one, and the one opportunity for Boston to really try to take one.
Yeah, and I agree, and that's why I'm hoping that put it all together game that we haven't seen yet is what happens Thursday night, because that's what they need to do, and maybe it'll take a road venue with some hate coming from the fans and some intensity and some noise to have everybody step it up, and especially to just get into the high energy. And we know when LeBron says it's go time, and we know when he doesn't need to say it, he shows it when he's just going to dominate, just take over. I want to see him do that from the opening tap. Enough of this pacing yourself. Enough of this see how it goes and involve the other players. Let's see the dominant LeBron that we all know is there anytime he wants to be there, and let's see it from the opening tap. That's what I'm hoping for, at least in Game 3.
I'm expecting that. What you said you were expecting in Game 2, I am no doubt expecting exactly that in Game 3. I think the whole team, not just LeBron, comes out with that same mentality. But yeah, he's got to set the tone there. And hey, we've seen it, whether you're talking about Detroit, we've seen some of the stuff he's done in some of the runs he's had with Miami, going on the road and making some things happen. He's known for doing that from time to time in the playoffs. I think that's what they got to do, because as we both know, Boston's coming. They're throwing everything at you, but if you can break the spirit here, and I think they will. It's going to be a really, really fun atmosphere, I think, being on the road. And I want to see that, too, on the road, away from home. Forget the flashing lights and all for one, and I have breakfast with, my mom or whatever. Forget that, man. Now we're going to Boston, and Boston, they don't like us very much up there. And Mr. Shaughnessy and all of them. So we're going to go up there, and it's going to be an atmosphere, and I think it's going to bring the best out of these guys.
Yeah, and, since you brought it up, can I just talk for a second about Mr. Shaughnessy?
I knew we were going to get there eventually. Yeah, for sure.
And you may be surprised at my take on Mr. Shaughnessy. Mr. Shaughnessy, Dan Shaughnessy, for those who don't know, wrote a column yesterday about, and it was basically titled, for long-suffering Cleveland fans, LeBron and the Cavs give them hope, or something along those lines. But then he went on to recycle pretty much the entire history of heartbreaking major sports disappointments in our town, took a few shots at our downtown area. Basically what he was taking a shot at was, I'm at the game the other night, he says, and he got confetti in his hair after the game. There was the confetti shower, and he goes, really? Confetti shower after a Game 1, Round 1 win in the NBA playoffs? Come on. Isn't that a little over the top? And frankly, my opinion is, yes, Dan, it is a little over the top. And most of the things that he said about the city were true, but they hurt because we're thin-skinned about our 50-year losing streak of lack of championships. And we don't like it when we can make fun of it all the time, but don't you make fun of it, you Boston people with all your championship banners. But the things he said about Cavs, Cleveland fans being long-suffering and desperate and needy and all those things, they're all true. We just don't like it being thrown in our face by somebody from Boston, no less. Okay, with your Patriots and your Celtics and all your and all your damn titles. But people in Cleveland, especially over at Everybody Hates Cleveland, there's an article, a guy, really ripped them for it, called them all kinds of names and, whatever. But hey, let's face it, he also said that there's not a whole lot to do in downtown Cleveland. It's not the greatest entertainment capital of the world. He's absolutely right about that too. J.R. Smith the other day was saying, there's nothing to do here but play basketball. And he was thinking that was a good thing, at least for him and his career. He's not distracted by, a lot of, flashing lights and shows and clubs and, whatever. Yeah, they've got a casino now, but, come on, compared to most cities, Cleveland doesn't have a lot of options downtown to distract the pro basketball players and keep them from practicing hard or whatever. So I didn't think there was as much there other than a little condescension from a Boston guy who acted like, he was making baskets for the Celtics when they won all those championships. Or he was hitting home runs in Fenway Park or whatever. I love how fans always take credit for their sports team's championships. But
we won.
And
we
writers,
won.
too. But anyway, I just wanted to sort of get that off my chest.
Okay.
I wasn't as upset about the article as lots of people were because the guy was just an out-of-towner coming to Cleveland and making some observations that to him seemed obvious, and to us, we're a little bit resentful of people that come to our town and make what are obvious observations.
All right, my turn. Let me jump in. And actually,
yeah.
I'm in the middle because I agree with some of what you said. There's a few things that have bothered me that maybe not exactly what bothered everybody else. I'm 100% about the pyro thing, but I think that's like a whole NBA thing. I don't think that's just a Cleveland thing. I think the Cavs let off confetti after every game that they win, even during the regular season and the preseason. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that's part of the deal. So whatever. But I know what he's saying. I agree. And you're right. I think you should save that stuff for, something meaningful. But if they do it every day, then you can't. It's not like we were so happy to win one playoff game that we let off confetti, which is the way he made it sound, So
he did make it sound that way, yeah.
That's the part that bothered me about that. But it like Joe Tate used to say, I don't like that music plays during my game. Like, it's one thing to play in between the plays, but it trips me out that they play the music like while they're playing the game and stuff. And I'm like, if I was a player, that would bother the hell out of me. But anyways, so I'm with that part of it. And the thing that bothered me most about what he said was that it felt to me like a lot of it was just something that you would have written about downtown Cleveland 15 years ago or 10 years ago. I do believe that downtown Cleveland is nowhere near the wasteland that you would make it sound like there when you hear that described, because I believe that it's actually revived quite a bit. I mean, all those restaurants, there's quite a bit of things down there.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. Much better than it was 10, 15 years ago.
You know what I mean? It was bad.
Oh,
there was empty stores everywhere, and there was empty offices, and I mean, nobody went downtown, but they have really worked, and when they had these green parks and stuff, I think it's really going to tie in. Cleveland screwed up years ago. I mean, I remember my dad used to talk to me about it when I was a kid, with the way they separated this town, and they turned downtown into this like gray middle area that nobody went to except to go to work or to go to a football game or whatever. And other than that, there was the west side and the east side, and then this downtown that just kind of whatever. And they're slowly fixing that. Every other major metropolitan city, the downtown is like the thriving middle part of things, and that's where Cleveland.
You're right, and I think Cleveland is definitely becoming that. And everything I hear from the young professionals and people that I work with day to day, that people are moving downtown more and more. I talk to people in the city that, where do you live? I live on East 4th Street. That kind of thing, and you never used to hear that. And so the one legitimate criticism you can make of Dan Shaughnessy is that he's a lazy journalist. He recycled. Yes. He might as well just pull the column out of the archives, like you say, from 1997 or whatever.
From coming here with the Red
same
Sox,
article with the same old, hackneyed mistake on the lake kind of Cleveland shots that we've been hearing for years and years, and that do get us get our back up a little bit when we hear them. It was lazy journalism to sort of go, let's talk about the drive and the fumble and the shot and yawn, gag me. Get out of that. Hasn't this article been written 5,000 times?
That's it.
About the drive and the shot and the fumble. Let's write something fresh if you're going to write an article. So certainly he can be accused of of sort of hackneyed, lazy journalism because he just reverted back to the stuff that's been in the archives for decades.
Like, I swear, it felt like he took the article that he wrote after he had to come to Cleveland for the Boston series back in like 97 or whatever, and he just changed all the Indians references to Cavs and all the Albert Bell references to LeBron James, and but it felt like a time machine because that's the one place I disagreed. I agree about the neediness of the sports fans. I mean, I agree about all of those. Some of those things can be true, and some of the criticisms of the city. But that part, I'm like, okay, well, you're just a guy that hasn't been to downtown Cleveland in 10, 15 years, so you just pulled out what you used to think, because that's the one place that. But I didn't get all crazy like, hey, screw you, man. You said this about Cleveland. Look, he's an uneducated journalist who tried to appeal to his local fan base at the expense of Cleveland. Is basically what.
Yeah, that's right, and that's the difference between today and 10, 15, 20 years ago, is that today everybody in Cleveland's reading Dan Shaughnessy's column. Where 15 years ago, only people in Boston would be even reading Dan Shaughnessy's column, and that's who he's writing it for.
Yep.
He's writing it for Boston fans who are a little bit of sour grapes because their team used to be great, but they're not so great now. And Cleveland has never been great, but they're kind of great now, and they just kicked your ass. So, it's a little bit of sour grapes in the column, saying, "Oh yeah, so you won one game. Well, look at ours, 22 championship banners." Well, we'd rather not look at those, Dan, right now. We're trying to do something here. So, but I think there's certainly a sour grapes element to it, and you sense some of that in what you read, Bill Simmons tweets and people like that are Boston people that are just a little bit irked that they're not that the sun isn't rising and setting in the NBA on their particular piece of the world right now.
And this isn't the worst of it. As he said, Simmons, Shaughnessy, you're going to get all of them as the Cavs get further. God forbid they win a championship. None of these people want to come to Cleveland in June and have to write about a parade here or anything like that. But let me tell you something. You think they haven't started yet attacking the city because there's a lot of people, like you said, that for whatever reason, whether it's Simmons, whoever, they got their team isn't there, or they just don't like Cleveland, or they don't like LeBron, or whatever it is. We've only just begun. And it's a good position. We're not used to being in the position where people are like, yeah, let's go write something about Cleveland, because we're jealous of them. But unfortunately, that's where they're going to be, because the Cavs are most likely going to be in this thing for a minute here. So Dan Shaughnessy, I'm sorry, but you'll be watching these Cavs. And he even said that at the end of his article, by the way. He said, hey, in all seriousness, you guys are definitely going to have something to celebrate here really soon. I think that's the part of it that you got to look at and brush it off, is they all know that the Cavs have a legitimate shot at this thing.
Right. I mean, he says in his headline, hey, who's gonna deny that we're long suffering? I used to kid around that was my middle name, or that the Cavs give us hope. Of course, they give us hope. Why wouldn't they give us hope? We've been hopeless, So nothing that he said was really false, but it just we get our back up in this town, and I'm part of that. I get easily insulted. I can be thin-skinned when people that are outside our area come and take shots at us. We're good enough at taking shots at ourselves. We don't need your help. But I thought he was actually kind of gracious in his opening to the column and his closing of the column, and it wasn't mean-spirited in any way. It was just, hey, I'm an outsider. What's this about? With the confetti and everything. So I understand where he's coming from, and also, again, remember his intended audience is people that want to be made to feel better about their team as they get swept.
They're the ones we're playing. He's a Boston reporter. Keep that in mind,
right,
guys. Now, let me ask you something, and I know this is a presumptive question, but since we're kind of talking about this, I haven't brought it up on the air yet, and I know some fans won't like what I'm going to say, but my gut tells me that let's fast forward 8 weeks, and let's say that the Cavaliers really do finish this thing off and they win a championship. Something in my gut tells me that those good, long-suffering Cleveland sports fans are going to become one of the most obnoxious fan bases in all of sports Twitter very quickly, because when you've kicked a horse for 50, 60 years and you've beat it while it's down, when it finally gets its moment in the sun, I'm pretty sure that the Cleveland fan base is going to go over the top, from lovable to long-suffering to completely over and obnoxious by the time this thing's over.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. I don't think there's any doubt at all. In fact, Ohio State fans, might be a good example of what you're going to get. I mean, I'm one of them, so I may be a little bit immune to seeing it, or certainly not objective when I do see it. But around the country, Ohio State fans are known widely for being some of the biggest a-holes in the sports universe. And they really are. They really can be. Any objective person has to admit that, we're pretty hard to take. And so I can see that happening, certainly, if the long-suffering become the champions of the world at anything, that we're gonna do our share of gloating for a good long time until someone takes us back down again.
For sure, man. Hopefully we can talk about that here as we go. We got Game 3 coming up tomorrow. Hey, let's shift gears a little bit. I don't know which way you want to go. We can talk. Let's talk about the Browns a little bit here, because we actually do have something to talk about here with the Browns, and the schedule's out. This is tangible stuff. Like when I was talking to somebody off the air this morning, putting the show together, and I said, "See, I'm not like, hey, Mister, just ignore the Browns until football season. I would talk about everything every day as long as we've got something to talk about, even if it's some conjecture. I'm okay with that. But when we're speculating about things that we don't even know may or may not happen, and then we're having whole drawn out conversations, that stuff drives me crazy. This is not that scenario. We've got games, we've got teams, we actually know the Browns' schedule for next year. So let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, first off, everybody's focus is the Monday Night Football, which is cool. It's been since 2009 that they've had a Monday Night Football game, and it's going to be here in Cleveland. Monday Night Football, to me, has kind of been switched with Sunday Night Football as far as what it used to mean, but it's still kind of a big deal to football players and fans and that. But, it's still cool, and they've got the Thursday night game, which will be Cincinnati again. But the schedule as a whole, what were your thoughts? We knew who they were going to play, but we didn't know when. They've got a couple of weird quirks where you've got the run through with nobody in the division, and then you've got the run straight through the division, and you've got... So what were your thoughts on the schedule when it came out?
Well, several things, and there were several surprising things, and let's just say unique things based on what's happened in the recent past. I cannot recall, and I'm there every Sunday that they're home, but I cannot recall a year since '99 when they did not have a division opponent in the first 4 games.
Yep, and they had none.
I think you could probably go back and verify that, but I do not recall that ever happening where you play your first 4 football games of the year and you have not played a single division opponent yet. And then, like you said, you go into November and you've got the streak of 4 straight games, 2 before the bye week, 2 after the bye week. And again, another thing that they did for the Browns is a little bit of a favor by giving them a bye week in week 11. We're one of those teams that usually has it in week 4, week 5, early in the season. And players hate that because they know they've got a long grind to come after that without a week off. So just the week 11 bye week is sort of like a nod to the Cleveland Browns, say, hey, we're throwing you a bone. And then the other thing, in the last several years, they've had a concentration of road games at the end of the season. This year, 4 out of the last 6 are home games. You've got all 3 division opponents at home in your last 6 games.
Yep.
Ravens, Bengals, and Steelers all after, starting at November 30th.
After the bye week. Yeah.
Yeah, after the bye week. So that's unique. I think a positive thing, certainly. You've got a tough stretch, couple stretches during the year. You've got, Chargers and Ravens on the road back-to-back. You've got Bengals and Steelers on the road back-to-back before the bye.
Yep.
But, on balance, I think those 3 things, and, of course, the Monday night thing. I didn't expect a Monday night game. Even more so, I did not expect a home Monday night game. So the league, again, kind of throwing the Browns a little bit of a bone, no pun intended. But that's good to see. It's always fun on a Monday night. It breaks things up, and crowd gets all jazzed. And it's an event for Cleveland, and I've always liked being there on Monday night.
Yeah, for sure. I just mean as far as, you know what I mean. I think that the league is kind of switched. I mean, that Sunday night game, because it's not on national TV. I think when Monday Night Football went to cable only, and then the Sunday night game is the national one, to me, that has the feel of what Monday Night Football was when I was growing up. That's kind of...
Yeah, that's true. And of course, Sunday, too. Sunday is NFL day, and so you know that from noon on Sunday... You've got NFL on your television until you go to bed if you want to watch it.
Yep.
And so you're almost guaranteed you're going to get the football watching public to check you out on Sunday night because they've been watching football all day, and it's just another game on the schedule. So, yeah, I think maybe it has sort of supplanted Monday night. It's not quite as big a deal as it used to be, maybe, is a good way of putting it.
But as you say, it is still Monday. It's isolated from the rest of that schedule. So you look bad on Monday Night Football, a lot more people will be talking about it because you kind of have the focus to yourself. I like what they did for the Browns with the way that schedule breaks out there because, as you mentioned, we talked about it last year, having that bye week so early. I'm not a big fan of that. And not only do they have the bye week there where they do, but the way it's around the two national TV games because you've got a big stretch there where if you're hurt, wore down, or whatever, instead of these short turnarounds. Yeah, you've got a short turnaround from Arizona to Cincinnati for that Thursday night game, but then you've got 10 days off before the Pittsburgh game. So you've got a break there. You play Pittsburgh, you get the bye week. So then you've got 15 days before you play the Ravens on Monday Night Football. So those things kind of help, and they give you, that's really an extended period of 2 games in 25 days pretty much or something like that, where if you say you have a situation like last year where you lose Alex Mack or you have a big spot in the middle of your schedule before you hit the home stretch to, get healthy, get rested, replace guys, whatever you may need. And then the other thing is that you, as you mentioned, having not only 4 of the 6 at home, but 3 of those being division games, you can literally come out of the bye week and pretty much, unless you're 1-10 or something at that 1-9 at that point, you can pretty much come out of the bye week and control your own destiny, good or bad, because you know that you've got all of the division teams in front of you and they're all at home. And so that's an interesting end of the season. That'll be, of course, it means nothing depending on how the first part of it goes, but interesting schedule for sure. It starts in New York, a little bit different there, starting on the road. As you said, no division teams in the whole first month of the season. It's an interesting schedule, and it's got some different teams because, you get in the NFL scheduling rut where for a couple of years in a row, you see a steady dose of a lot of the same out-of-conference teams. And so now they've kind of switched out of that. You've got some different teams here than you're used to seeing.
Yeah, definitely. It's a nice, attractive home schedule for the people. They got the Broncos coming to town, got the 49ers coming to town,
Cardinals,
and got the Cardinals. I can't remember the last time the Cardinals were in Cleveland. So that is, it's attractive from an attendance standpoint. Not that that's a big concern for the Cleveland Browns at home to get people in the seats, but it helps to have some attractive games. That last stretch of 4 out of 6, you got 4 out of 6 at home. In the middle of those 3 division games, though, you do have a couple of Bears you've got the 49ers and the Seahawks back to back, so that's no walk in the park. But at least you're getting the 49ers in Cleveland on December 13th, where you might have a little cold home field advantage, and then you have to travel out to Seattle the following week. So that might not be a fun thing on Christmas week, 12/20. But you've got to like it. There's some positives there. There's some uniqueness with the late home games, with the late bye, and with the early kind of variety of teams that we're not necessarily seeing the Steelers or Bengals at week 1 or 2, which we seem to always have.
Man, like you said though, man, that last month of the season. I mean, seriously, San Francisco, I don't care which ones are home, which ones are away. San Francisco, Seattle, Kansas City, and then the Steelers, man, that's a tough month to end the season.
Oh, yeah, and you can look at the schedule, and it's obvious that it's way easier than it was last year. I mean, you do have the Raiders and the Titans on it like you did last year. Those are 2 games of round 1. Those games are both at home like they were. And actually, the Titans game was on the road last year when the Kane had the big comeback win. But you're not seeing some of the other weak sisters of the NFL. You might look at the Chiefs as being a game that you ought to win, and even though it's on the road, and a few others. But you look up and down the schedule, try to pick out some W's, and I'm coming up short of a half a dozen.
Yeah, I think I saw a number from one of the places that did the strength of schedule thing or whatever, said the Browns have the 9th toughest schedule in the NFL based on, where things sit now. Obviously, there's still a draft and some other stuff, but based on the way the team's finished and what's projected, 9th toughest schedule of all these schedules for the Browns this year. So it's definitely an uphill battle from what they dealt with last year. And we knew that. I mean, we knew that when they announced the names months ago. We knew who the teams were. We just didn't know what order they would be playing these guys in that. And so they definitely, while they may have done some favors certain ways, they didn't do any favors in others. And you know what? So what? I mean, it's not about the league handing you anything. You got to go out here and win the game. So there you go. It's gonna be a tough one. The Browns have got their work cut out for them, and they started that this week. I know it was funny listening to Mike Pettine's press conference yesterday. There people trying to ask him questions about stuff. He's like, "Look, man, I don't know who's playing. This is April. We're lifting weights, man. We're bench pressing today, dude. I mean, I don't know who the quarterback is." Of course, that question started already, and but anyways, Browns getting back at it. They've got a couple of workouts here. You get the draft, and then the next one is what. June is when they get the first mini camp where they get the team back together.
Yeah, I think that's right. And Pettine, did what coaches do and pretty much just put off all personnel talk. And, obviously he doesn't have his depth chart put together yet for this year. But next, maybe Monday we can start some serious draft talk and just get into some actual player personnel kind of conversation, because it's coming right up, and
next week
we're less than 2 weeks away now from a week from tomorrow we draft.
Wait,
right?
Yeah, I was about to say.
So it's crazy, kind of how it sneaked up on us this year. Certainly, I think there's a lot less buzz in Cleveland, Ohio, about the NFL draft this year compared to last.
Because of the Cavs, for sure.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's a big part of it. And also, we're sitting at 12 instead of 4.
I'll tell you, I don't get into mock. I'm sorry. No, you said that. I don't get into mock drafts, but I was going to ask you if you do get into that thing. ESPN, the one that they sent me the update literally right before we went on the air. They have the Browns in the first round at Devontae Parker and Shelton as the two guys coming out of 12 and 19. I said, shoot, I'll take that. Give me those two right now. And
Did they have Shelton at 12 and Parker at 19?
They had Shelton at 19 and Parker at 12.
Interesting. A lot of people have held the same two guys in the other order, but because they don't think Shelton would last till 19. I'd be real happy with that too, Jerry.
Yeah.
I really would. And yet last night again, coming down my Twitter feed, some guy who's supposed to know, and I shouldn't say that because I can't even recall what the source was, but it said that the Browns at this moment are the front runners to move up to draft Mariota. How? I don't know. They basically said that what the Titans were asking for was 12, 19, and 43. In other words, all our first three picks this year, not going into next year. And the Browns had presumably, reportedly, said no to that. They had said no to 43, presumably. But they were okay with 12 and 19 to move up for Mariota. So, obviously, it would have to be something, I think, in addition to 12 and 19 to get up to 2. But I'm just hoping, as I've said before, that get 2 players out of the deal and that Jimmy Haslam's tied up in a closet somewhere.
That makes no sense to me, man. I mean, you're not even going up to get the best quarterback. You're going up to get the second best quarterback, man, and you're giving away
and you're going up to get your 5th quarterback on your roster.
Right. I mean, come on. Speaking of that, I went to we were talking the other day, and yesterday I talked a little bit more about the Eagles, and I honestly believe, I don't know if you caught what I said, but I believe that Chip Kelly has a very, very, very smart, he got ahead of the curve on the whole NFL. I think what he did 3 months ago was he sat down and he looked at what we all talked about, which was the dearth of quarterbacks in the league, in the draft, everywhere. And he said he identified the best of the best, the most attractive to not to anybody, not just to Cleveland, just in general. He's like a guy who went and found, he said, okay, I'm going to gather them all. I know I'm going to do something with them. So he went and got himself a stockpile of the most decent, attractive quarterbacks that are out there. And now they're worth more than they'll be in 6 weeks. That's what I've been saying is Sam Bradford, he's worth nothing 2 months from now, but he'll be worth a ton a week from now. Same with any of these guys. You could pick any name. They're different styles. There's different everything. And he has found the commodity that is the rarest. And he says, well, hell, man, these are pieces that aren't worth anything 6 weeks after the draft, but leading up to it. And I just think he's smart, because I think this is the beginning of a plan. This isn't some craziness. I've cornered the market. I've cornered the market on quarterbacks. Everyone that's worth something that's available, come see me and let me know what you got. I think it's very smart.
Well, yeah, you're right. And the people that are scratching their heads over Tim Tebow or scratching their heads over Sam Bradford, who doesn't appear to fit the Philadelphia Chip Kelly system, maybe find out in a week that Chip Kelly's dumb like a fox, and that he does have the road to a veteran quarterback goes through Philadelphia, and when you're desperate on draft day and your guys are gone when your pick comes around, and maybe I can squeeze a pick out of you, or probably more likely, in advance of the draft, he's going to try to hold somebody up and pull off a heist. And I'm just hoping that this heist doesn't have Cleveland Browns brown and orange all over it.
I don't even think he trades one. I'm going to say, I think before the draft is over, he trades multiple quarterbacks to different teams. I'm telling you, man, he's going to use an asset that he has that's a valuable commodity to replace the things that he needs. He went around and said, okay, I don't have all the assets I need to make some trades, but you know what? I'll go get them, and then I'll have them, and he's got them. It's not just Cleveland that needs a quarterback. There's a lot of teams, and hey, there's different valued quarterbacks. Maybe you don't want to go get Marcus Mariota or Jameis Winston. It's okay. You won't give him your first-round picks, but maybe in the third round you might be interested in Barkley. Or, you know what I mean? Maybe in the fourth round you want to start talking to me about Sam Bradford, and we can start picking up draft picks for next year. I'm just saying, he's going to peel off a couple of those during the draft, not just one. I think that he's gonna get rid of a couple of those quarterbacks, man.
Yeah, that's true. And, of course, the wide speculation has been that, here he is with 4 quarterbacks, and like we said the other day, they're all big-name quarterbacks, basically, regardless of what their current, value might be. And yet the feeling is that he's got 4 and he doesn't want any of them, or at least he wants to only keep one of them as his backup to Marcus Mariota, and that's his game plan. But maybe you're right, and maybe he's less convinced, or maybe unpersuaded right now that he could actually pull that off. And frankly, if I'm the Titans and I'm sitting there with Zach Mettenberger and then some guy named Joe, I don't know if I'm going to stand pat when I've got a chance to show my fans that when I get the number 2 pick, I'm going to use it to, address my quarterback situation long term. I can't believe that I've always sort of liked Mettenberger as a college player, but like seemingly one out of every 3 NFL QBs, he had a knee surgery, and he's got to be a question mark physically, and he's not the most mobile guy in the world, although he's a decent runner. That they might not have another opportunity if things go well for him to draft at number 2 and to get so-called franchise quarterback. So it's hard for me to believe that the Titans want to trade out of number 2. That they'll probably go ahead and take Mariota themselves.
Man, we'll get into that next week as we're really we'll get into the silly draft season there. Before I let you go, we're just about, for those of you listening live, we're about 20 minutes of real time away from the Tribe and the White Sox here. Corey Kluber taking the mound. I mentioned earlier, you don't need to say how important this is to win, heading into Detroit to win this series, but maybe I'm crazy, and maybe you'll say, hey, Jerry, you can't throw out the 9th inning from the other night. But you throw that out, and the Indians have played back-to-back very good baseball games from top to bottom. I know that the flame-out is big. But, when I was looking at the game afterwards, I said, if that doesn't happen, this is a 180 from what we're talking about after this game. And I just think that, especially if you get the victory today, that's a good series against Chicago and a good step forward, and you win a series, and then you head to Detroit.
Well, you're right about back-to-back extremely strong starting pitching performances, in the series. And, obviously I was with a bunch of my buddies. We play poker one night a month, and we've done it for 20-some years. So Monday night, I'm at the poker game, and that was one of those games where, this team rips your guts out, throws them on the ground, stomps all over them for a while, and then says, here, go ahead and take this back. It was just a killer. How that happened, it was just surreal. But I guess maybe I would part company with you on one thing, and that is that top to bottom, the team's playing good baseball.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Well, good performances by the team in those two games. I mean, I saw last night, and after a game like Monday night, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And they went ahead and they did load the bases in the 8th inning, and then Moss has a chance to catch the foul fly ball down the right field line, and he muffs it. And you're thinking, oh my God, is this going to happen again to us? They had the tying run at the plate after having had a 6-1 lead going into the 8th inning, and obviously Shaw came up and got the big strikeout to end the inning, but your mind starts to play tricks on you and think, oh geez, here we go. The error by Ramirez, which by the way, Mike Randenberry notwithstanding, and Mike can have all the I told you so points that he well deserves. And Moss flubbing the fly ball is another example of what Mike talks about, where you can have crappy defense without committing errors. That was not an error, but should have ended the inning. But this team, through 12 games now, has 13 games. Has 2 errors by infielders. They're both by Jose Ramirez. One last night. Going into the Chicago series, I believe they only had 2 errors as a team through that many games. So no one told Mike in the spring that the defense was going to be completely fixed. What we tried to, hope for and tell Mike was this defense was going to be better. And I think you can make a case that the defense is better only by the very low bar that was set last year.
That it was set, exactly.
In its horribleness, okay? So, granted, we admit the bar is low to get over. But the team can, will be better only because it can hardly possibly be worse.
Dan, Mike texted me this morning.
That's what we've seen.
Mike texted me this morning and was getting clarification on the words he's allowed to use tomorrow. That'll let you know where we're going. He's like, so am I allowed to say this? Am I allowed to say that? I'm like, man, really? This is where we're going tomorrow. He's like, look, I just had a conversation with somebody about baseball. It sounded a lot like ours, but I used some different words and it sounded even better. And I'm like, oh man.
Well, tell him he can use Brian Price's rant as his guide.
How about
to
that?
What he should say. Anything south of that, anything south of Brian Price's rant, you can pretty much say tomorrow when you talk about the Tribe defense. So admittedly, and I've been paying a lot of attention to, mostly because of Mike and his columns and his conversation about the ways that the team is bad defensively without committing errors, and we notice it more and more, and a lot of it gets down to things like Roberto Perez not throwing the ball down the second particularly well lately. Good defensive catcher, but let a couple get away from him the other night in a big game. Has made some bad throws now to 2. Again, we're not talking about errors, but we are talking about defense that's less than stellar without committing errors. So I guess maybe I'm a little bit more tuned in to some of that. And again, the Moss play last night in right field, tough chance, but good right fielder has that ball. Certainly, the ball that Aviles should have caught in the first game, that a good center fielder should have caught, I should say. Yeah. And there was a lot of grief given to Tito for not having Bourne in the game, even though he didn't start and didn't play the whole game. A lot of second guessing of not having him in as a defensive replacement in the 9th inning, or for not having a competent backup center fielder even on his roster. I'm sure you heard some of that talk. Again, you get this one today with Kluber, and you'd think this team would be super motivated to go out and get Corey Kluber his first win. He certainly has pitched well enough in 3 starts to have at least 2 wins, if not 3. And so it's time for him to pick up a W.
About that center field thing, and this is just my only thing I'm going to say about that is, last I checked, every scouting report about Mike Aviles that I read says that one of the benefits that he brings to Terry Francona is the ability to play every single position on the field. He's played 4 games at center field. He's played this many games in left. He's played this many games in right. So that's the whole versatility of what, for all the hindsight people, is that's the whole point, is you've already mentioned that if you need a center fielder for a day, if you need a left fielder or right, that's your guy. So I'm just saying that's his role, is to fill those various roles at times. And so if you want to get mad at the Indians for thinking that he can play center field, okay, blame him for that. But other than that, how do you second guess the manager when all you talk about with the V-list is the versatility he brings you to play every position on the field?
Right, and when you talk about a player that can play every position on the field, he wouldn't be that guy if he played every single one. If he played one of them at an elite level.
Yes, exactly.
So and I guess you could make the point that I'm not going to say even that Michael Bourne would have had that ball. Maybe Michael Vielich would have had that ball if he hadn't had a shroud over his head to keep the cold out.
Man. You want to make if fans want to make an argument about a different center fielder, okay. But now you're going to make them, not you, they are going to make the Michael Bourne argument. They're the same sabermetrics people that'll tell us how bad defensively Michael Bourne is. He's one of the worst defensive center fielders in all of baseball. But yet, hindsight people will tell you that not only did Tito have the wrong guy in there, but the other guy, who they called one of the worst outfielders, should have been in there instead, because it's hindsight.
Yeah, that's true. And in fact, I saw the Tyler Holt would have made that catch tweet.
Tyler Holt would have made that catch. He probably would have, to be honest with you. He probably
One thing I did notice last night is that we've been awful short, and I know you and Bruce talked about the 11 solo homers. We'll have a celebration when we hit one with a man on. But what we did see last night was a couple of very big 2-out RBI hits. Obviously, the big one from Rayburn with the bases loaded against the young superstar for the White Sox, and then later off the same guy, Brantley, hitting against a lefty, 2 outs, runner on third or runner on second, gets a big base hit. I think that put him up 6-1 in the bottom of the seventh, I believe. So the 2-out RBI hits that this team hasn't been getting, the situational hitting the team hasn't been getting, we saw a little taste of it last night. It certainly was refreshing to see it.
Absolutely was, and I think it was, we mentioned the other day about how important, with everybody else struggling, Rayburn would be. Really nice, at least in this time here, to see him get warmed up. As I mentioned, I think he's 8 of his last 14 with 6 extra base hits, so that's a good thing, because even when everybody else starts hitting, it would help to have him doing his thing too. And I'm going to go back to it. I never said they were playing good baseball. I said progress. I said, hey, listen, I'd rather win a couple games playing some bad baseball than we'll get to good baseball eventually, hopefully anyways, or else this is going to be a hell of a long summer. But I'm with it. I'm progress, man. Progress. And we're not at Brown season yet, but we're using Brown's euphemisms, man. We're making progress.
I guess, on the upside, Jerry, we're under the radar now.
We're under the radar.
all eyes are on the 2-11-3 teams at the top of the division, and no one's going to pay attention to what we're doing down here, and maybe we can sneak up on somebody here as the season goes along.
Indians fans, we're no longer on the cover of Sports Illustrated. That issue's gone. We're on the back page now. The Cavs are on the front page. So and that's what I said. Now they've got 6 weeks to just get healthy and get right. Nobody's paying attention. The Cavs are doing their thing. If the Indians are decent by the time the Cavs are done, then they're fine. Stay 500 until you get out of the playoffs, and then you get Gomes back there. And today,
and now now all you need to worry about now is, when that Sports Illustrated hits your mailbox next week, there'll be LeBron on the cover.
Oh, it's coming.
It's coming. That's when you need to start worrying, my friend.
It's coming, man. Oh, we'll get to that next week, man. Hey, you know what else is coming, too? I'm not even going to say nothing. Monday, when you and I talk, we'll come out of the mouth of the tiger, literally, as the Indians head to Detroit here to take on the Tigers. Let's see if they can acquit themselves any better than they did the first time around.
Here's hoping, and I appreciate you having me, as always, and I look forward to talking to you Monday.
You got it, man. Some great pitching matchups this weekend. Games 3 and 4 with the Cavs and the Celtics. When we get back Monday, you and I will have a ton of things to get into.
Thank you, Jerry. Have a good one.
You got it. Dan Wismar, Cleveland fan, and of course, everybodyhatescleveland.com, and he's here every Monday and Wednesday on the Sports Fix. You guys, thanks to Dan for being with us. Final break of the day. Let's get it done and get rolling. I know we're just about 8 minutes from first pitch of some Indians baseball for you guys listening live. Final break of the day. When we come back, I've got a couple of interesting stories for you, and we'll call it a day. Don't go anywhere. Final segment of the Fix coming up next.
The Sports Fix, your choice for intelligent talk.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Intelligent talk.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good,
It could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
These guys must be on the wrong station.
It was pretty terrible.
It was bad.
It was awful.
It was
Get
terrible.
him away!
Hey, boo!
Boo!
The Sports Fix.
Hey guys, before we go to the break, I want to talk to you a little bit again about our good friends at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championships, some of the hottest fights in the world today. Each and every one of their huge events, Harry Buffalo is one of the few places in Northeast Ohio you can go there and watch each and every UFC fight at the Harry Buffalo. And let me tell you, I've been there. The people are out the door. They are to the rafters. It is one of the craziest environments for some UFC fights. Wing Mondays, they've got great deals on wings and drinks, and every day of the week there's a different special, a different deal. And don't forget the Bison Burger, the unbelievable. It is the combination of a fantastic burger and eating healthy combined into one unbelievable sandwich. You have got to get a Bison Burger while you're there. So whatever you're looking for, whatever day of the week, Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sundays, there's something for you at the Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, just outside Great Northern Mall. Check them out today. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
It's the Sports Fix. We'll be right back.
Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize.
I mean, a really real prize.
Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs. There's literally only one place to go. FantasyJocks.com.
What's your fantasy say?
No football? No problem at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted. From their awesome Wing Mondays to every single Cavaliers and Buckeye Hoops games in full HD, the excitement never stops. Every day of the week brings a different set of food and amazing drink specials. Fight fans, Harry Buffalo North Olmsted is the home for every UFC pay-per-view live on the big screens. And let's not forget their mouth-watering trademark, the Bison Burger. Nobody does bison like Harry Buffalo. The perfect combination of healthy and delicious. What are you waiting for? Get to Harry Buffalo, just outside Great Northern Mall today. Harry Buffalo. Join the herd. The Sports Fix is now available every day on the world's largest internet radio service, iHeartRadio. Download the free iHeartRadio app, subscribe to the show, and get your fix.
Hey, everybody. Listen up.
Listen up, guys.
Hey, guys. Listen up.
No one should ever hit a woman.
Not their wife, not their girlfriend, not their date. No woman should have to fear violence.
Especially not from someone they know and trust.
But that's the reality for too many women.
We have to change it.
It's up to each of us, because even one is too many.
Violence against women hurts all of us. Growing up, I was ashamed and afraid of my father when he abused my mom.
The worst abuse of power is when a man raises his hand to hurt a woman. We all have to take responsibility. So if you see someone threatening a woman, step up, speak out, and get help.
Dating violence hurts all of us. So step up and help end it. Because one is too many.
One is too many.
One is too many.
One is too many.
End the violence. Because it's wrong.
Because one is too many.
Hey, you guys are rocking with Reggie Germany, former wide receiver of the Buffalo Bills and Ohio State Buckeye. You're rocking with the Sports Fix.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix. Hey, I figure we'll go from one TV show theme to the other. J-Rocc back with you here as we get into the final segment, and we're going to make it quick. The Indians just a few minutes away from first pitch as they get ready to do battle with the White Sox in the swing game, rubber match of this series. Each team has won a game. Indians should have took the first two, but of course they blew that game Monday. So they sit here looking to salvage the series with a victory today before they get a day off and head to Detroit. Corey Kluber on the mound for the Tribe. Jeff Samardzija will be doing battle with Kluber here in just a few moments, so we will hurry up and get you guys rolling so you can do that. If you're listening on digital delay, then I guess it doesn't matter. You already know if the Indians won or lost that game, so you can be like Karnak all show long. You've probably been going, yeah, dude, they win or they lose or whatever because you already know the results. But we don't because we're live. So thanks to you guys who were with us live and for who was with us today. Dan Wismar, of course, from the Cleveland Fan. Thanks to Bruce for the call earlier. Tomorrow, we've got Mike Brandenberry. Oh, that'll be fun. Mike Brandenberry from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com. John McMullen from the Sports Network is here tomorrow as well, talking some NFL. We'll talk his thoughts on the schedules that came out, not just the Browns, but around the league. A little bit about Johnny Manziel as well. I mean, I get it. He brings a lot of media attention no matter where he goes, but sometimes it's like, hey, I can totally, as much as I don't believe the end result is going to be positive, it doesn't mean that I don't think, man, sometimes guys just need to lay off. I mean, when somebody does something, I'm with all about you get what you paid for and all the attention and all that. You get what you asked for, or maybe you didn't ask for it, but it's the price of fame and all of that. But then there's going too much with it, whatever. Like everybody just, sit back and see. I mean, whatever's going to happen is going to happen, but the circus is already underway. It's kind of funny to see it swarming. And it's funny because you see some people who are as guilty as everybody else, and then they sit there and talk about other people doing it. I saw our favorite Browns beat reporter this morning, a certain female somebody, who was talking about other people's man crushes on Johnny Manziel, and I'm like, lady, you got the biggest schoolyard crush of them all. But anyways, it's all fun, man. Hey, as we wrap things up, a couple of things I wanted to get into. That here we sit. What is it? It is the 22nd of April. We are 10 days, or 11, I believe, from May 2nd, which is Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. Do you realize that not only is the contract, I know a lot of people may have seen the story starting to break, the contract's still not signed for Pacquiao and Mayweather. Here we sit this close to the fight. The actual contract has not been signed because now Pacquiao's people are accusing Mayweather of changing the contract after the original agreement. Not only is the contract not signed, they just set the pay-per-view price the day before yesterday. Here, less than 2 weeks out. And here's a kicker. No tickets have even been printed yet for this thing. I mean, I know that they know that there's such a demand here that they think they can just snap their fingers and then boom. And they probably will. But even the MGM, all the people involved are saying, you are really running the risk here of making this thing really hard for us to pull off. I mean, matter of fact, that was one of the things they were talking about yesterday was just the building. Talking about the actual just logistics of say we did it right now, because they cannot print tickets. They cannot actually put the tickets on sale until this contract is signed. They're not allowed. The building does not allow that to happen without a signed agreement. So right now, the MGM is already, I saw an executive who said, as it sits right now, distributing this many tickets in a short amount of time is going to be absolutely insane to deal with. So usually months of these tickets are available and all of this stuff is done months out. And here people are sitting here just everything condensed to the end. Now, from what I understand, it doesn't matter if this contract is signed or not because this fight will happen because the initial agreements were made. And you're not allowed to go change. So they may have to go to court after the fight to determine who gets what money and who owes who for some stuff that was done shady. But they can't stop the fight from happening. At least that's everything that I'm hearing, is that this is already out there and going. It is definitely, it would be forced by a court to happen. The actual fight will happen even if, I guess the Gaming Commission itself says that they would step in. I read somewhere, and Bob Arum said if worse came to worse, literally the governor of the state will step in, order the fight to happen, and then force the teams to go to court and deal with everything from there. Some people, from what I read, have already gotten their $1,000 a night hotel rooms booked because everything in town is just going through the roof for that weekend because of this fight. There's already been hundreds of thousands of orders at $99.95 for the pay-per-view, $89.95 in SD, $99.95 in HD. So at this point, there's no going back. But that's amazing, isn't it? That we're April 22nd and the fight contract isn't signed, the tickets aren't printed, nothing is done for this to actually happen, and it's the biggest fight of all time. And it'll still pull it off, but I feel sorry for those people. I mean, can you imagine trying to distribute? They what did they scale? Well, we said it a couple weeks ago. What did they scale that building for? 100 million, I don't know, whatever, in just tickets alone, and they're going to try to put that out overnight. I saw the one quote from the MGM said there's going to be millionaires standing in line to get tickets for this thing the way it's going down. It's not even going to be the general public. It's going to be the VIPs that are going to be in line like everybody else to get this. So, I don't know, and I guess the big holdup is about tickets, because that's part of how these sides get paid, is instead of actual cash handed over when they break up the tickets in the building, the MGM gets to sell 40% of the tickets, Mayweather gets to sell 30%, and Pacquiao gets to sell 30%. And that's part of their take for it is, and think about the average ticket price on this thing, I think is about $1,500. And those are like the cheap ones. They got the $10,000 tickets. They got all kinds of crazy ticket prices on this. But that's where the problem is. The fight will happen, but I just think it's nuts that they haven't signed the contract, haven't printed tickets, haven't put anything on sale yet, and this fight's in less than 2 weeks. So I'll be watching it on pay-per-view either way, but interesting stuff. Speaking of contracts, as we wrap things up, Jim Brown's rookie contract. If any of you guys out there love what I do and you want to just say, hey, J-Rocc, I really appreciate the Sports Fix, I want to buy you a present, you can go bid on Jim Brown's rookie contract for me, because that would look good in my collection case here. I'm just kidding, but unless you want to do it, then go ahead. But bidding up to $12,000 so far. They're expecting $30,000 to $50,000 to be the final fetch for Jim Brown's signed rookie contract. It's being called one of the half dozen most significant sports contracts of all time. They said it's the second best intact football contract that they've ever seen. Johnny Unitas and Jim Brown, the only two on the market, rookie contracts, intact, signed and everything, and all of that. Unitas' contract sold in 2007 for $30,000. So here in 2015, they think they can get up to $50,000 for Jim Brown's. It's already been sold once last year, got $25,000 through an auction house. So they think they're going to get more here. There's no reserve price. So as it sits right now, $12,000 is going to get this thing. It closes on Saturday. But to me, that's a cool piece of history right there, man. That's a really cool piece of history. It's, of course, signed, listed to one Jimmy Brown with his $12,000 salary and his $3,000 signing bonus in January 1957. It's got 6 signatures, including Jim Brown and NFL Commissioner Burt Bell. Pretty cool stuff there. And like I said, if any of you guys want to go out there and get it, SCP Auctions has got it out there. You can say, hey, J-Rocc, here you go. But I doubt that's going to happen. That's one of those things, if I was filthy, just disgustingly loaded and could buy stupidly obnoxious things, that would be one of those things. Stuff like that. I would just go around and buy people's shoes, and I love sports memorabilia. So there you go. That's a cool one. Jimmy Brown, baby. History right there. One of the rarest contracts out there. Final bit of news as we roll. Just came in during the last break. Oklahoma City fires head coach Scott Brooks, of course, former assistant here in Cleveland with the Cavaliers back in the day. Scott Brooks he actually surpasses Mike Brown as the most successful most successful NBA head coach to never win a championship, as his winning percentage, I've got it here, it's right there. He passes Mike Brown. Mike Brown had the best regular season NBA win percentage before the last season there at 61.5. Scott Brooks now 62% winning percentage from 2009 until this past season with Oklahoma City. He is the winningest head coach to never win an NBA title, and he was fired today by the Oklahoma City Thunder. Bit of a surprise to me, although it's like Mike Brown's situation was a little different because you had the LeBron thing in the middle of it and all that. So that, you can't, I don't know what would have happened with Mike Brown had it not been decision time for LeBron James, but you reach that point where you've had that window and a team feels they've got to go in a different direction. But much like Mike Brown, and much like when George Karl was fired after winning Coach of the Year a couple years ago, I find it so hard to let go of a guy who's won that many doggone games, man. When a guy's winning 62% of his games in the regular season, I know he's still not winning it in the playoffs, but man, that's a tough one. I didn't get it when the Cavs let Mike Brown go the first time. Second time, things didn't go as smoothly, but I still think that the players weren't exactly helping him out, but whatever. Scott Brooks now joins Mike Brown as he's now the winningest head coach in regular season history and out of a job. Fired today by Oklahoma City. All right, guys, Indians are underway. Go enjoy the Tribe game. Get back here tomorrow. Mike Brandenberry, John McMullen, join me. We're talking Cavs. Browns. We'll be previewing the Cavs Game 3. There's a bunch of NBA Game 2s going on tonight, you guys, as I look around the schedule tonight. You've got Brooklyn and Atlanta, Portland and Memphis, San Antonio and the Clippers. That's going to be a good late-night game tonight. Lots of Stanley Cup playoff action and more. We'll talk about it all tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel, live at noon here across the Sports Fix Radio Network. We love you, Cleveland and beyond. Have some fun. Enjoy the Tribe game tonight. Enjoy whatever you're into, and Tribe games right now. Come on back tomorrow, Daddy, and we'll see you here on the Sports Fix.
Survival's a must.